Hello, everybody out there in YouTube land. This is Tom Connors on Midnight's Edge After Dark. Thank you for joining us here on this live chit chat. We're just going to shoot the shit with Gary, and Gary is from Nerdrodic. How you doing, Gary?
Good. How are you, Tom?
Hanging in there, my friend. Hanging in there, my friend. You, of course, may recognize him from the few shows he's popped up here and there. If not, you're already a member of his channel. And you know exactly who he is, and I'm telling you stuff you already know. But Gary's very knowledgeable when it comes to entertainment, especially when it comes to comic books. His man actually owned his own store one time. So there you go.
Yeah. I mean, as knowledgeable as much as I can remember, kind of a Swiss cheese brain, but
hey, I respect your knowledge, vast knowledge that I could never even become close to, I'm sure. So when it comes to comic books and things of that sort, and your channel really covers a lot of television. So if you're somebody who doesn't like the fact that Midnight's Edge doesn't really cover a whole hell of a lot of television, check out Nerdrodic for sure if you haven't already, because they cover just about like everything over there, it seems like, especially if it's got feelings and hallways, right?
Feelings and hallways. That's our focus. We really like it when superheroes are in their street clothes and they call each other by their first names and don't use their powers and talk about their girlfriends and boyfriends. Good stuff.
Always. Yeah, I'm sure Mecha might pop in, Rob might pop in. Who knows? We'll see. But yeah, we're just gonna talk and see how's it going. Have you guys covered much over there about the whole Kathleen Kennedy thing? I know I listened to you guys a little bit on Friday. I think I got caught most of the show. What's your feelings on this whole thing?
Yeah, so we're kind of over Star Wars. I it sucks to say that. It's just I think this really cemented it that it's just not made for us. Disney's version of it doesn't speak to me in any way, shape, or form. So, and we've done our fair share of complaining about it ad infinitum, and our last take on it was just, it's time to walk away. It sucks. So I guess if you want to call a boycott apathy, then I guess we're boycotting because we just don't care anymore. And it's tragic. Right. And Doomcock did the Requiem for Star Wars, which was great. But yeah, I'm just kind of over it. There's better stuff out there, and I'm completely ready to spend my money somewhere else that appreciates me as a fan and appreciates good storytelling. Most of all, I don't need to be appreciated as a fan. I don't need that. I just need to be entertained and not get irritated when I watch something I used to love. And it seems like the people creating this are going out of their way to irritate a part of their audience, which is really a bold strategy. I got to say, it's out of the box thinking there. Not sure it's going to work, but and I know, like, since the Kathleen Kennedy announcement, some other stuff is coming to light and emotions have tempered, and you kind of see this as it's a golden parachute more than anything. That's what I think anyway. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, yeah, like I think you even caught the show where I kind of brought up the whole fact that this really doesn't change. Everything that's been happen in the next 3 years is already done and over with. The damage is done. Yep. Episode 9 is already happening. Indiana Jones 5 has been happening. If anything, we'll have one other Star Wars movie in that 3 years, but otherwise, what more damage can she really do?
I know.
Iger said things are going to slow down. The buck stops with him. So I think she's more of just a middleman now. Does that make sense? To where she's going to have to answer to Iger for everything, because I mean, we have a lot of people out there who defended her. Don't get me wrong, she's got a rich history as far as a producer, but her contributions to things artistically and story-wise and all that kind of stuff are questionable. How much input would she really have on Raiders of the Lost Ark, or something to that effect, where it's like, I don't think she had much. I really don't. And now it's kind of one of those things where I think Iger has taken the blame. Yeah. She's had nothing but trouble behind the scenes. How many directors have quit or got fired? Ghost directors coming in to fix movies. Like Darkslayer said, she's basically a puppet president, I think, at this point. She's on her way out eventually. This 3 years will be up. She'll retire. She's getting her honorary Oscar this year. Blah, blah, blah. It just sucks that a legacy as rich as hers had to be tarnished at the end, and she drugged down this franchise with her. And, people are sticking up for George at the same time too. And I got to keep reminding him, even Doomcock, like, he was the one who picked her in the first place, and he could have very well, said something here or there or done anything he wanted and forced certain rules and regulations on certain things, and he just walked away from the whole thing. The only thing that we can probably tell is that he just said you can't release the other versions of Star Wars and Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. It's got to be the special editions. That's probably the only real stipulation I'd imagine he's got set in ironclad with them, because otherwise, where the hell they want. So
yeah. It's to save face. There's no way they could have fired her. They're just making it a situation where she's gonna want to walk away. They took out her fangs, they declawed her, for lack of a better term.
Right.
And like you said, and during the Me Too Time's Up era, there's no way they were going to fire. They had to save face, and it was a huge Iger going out there and taking responsibility.
He took a bullet.
Yeah, that's weird.
Nobody's gonna say it's his fault, though. But yeah, in a way, though, it is, though. It's true. And I mean, I'm sure anybody, even you, who's like kind of basically the running the show there, will say, everything kind of falls at your feet. You take the blame for pretty much anything that were to happen if it were to go wrong. So same thing over here on After Dark. And I know Andre would if it was on the main channel. Hunky Chunky Funky Monkey, thank you for the £5 donation. Grace Randolph made sense on her video on KK. It's just a stay of execution because no one wants the job until episode 9 is out of the way. That's what we were saying right away too. Rob and I and all that kind of stuff. We've been saying that for a while. Nobody wants the job. That's the rumor we heard. We heard similar stories to what she heard about the big meeting going down and Kathleen Kennedy being dressed down in front of the other producers, and Iger saying within that meeting that nobody wants the job. They even offered it to JJ, was the rumor.
Oh, I'm so glad he turned that down.
Well, I can imagine nobody wants to take that on.
No.
And again, they're not gonna. Yeah, there's no way they can fire her in the Me Too movement, and she wouldn't have been fired if it would have been up for the contract. That's what we were waiting for. And even I was saying, and I think Andre even mentioned it and stuff, that chances are she's not going anywhere for a little bit. She's going to stay on. I knew she was going to stay on through at least episode 9 in Indiana Jones 5. I knew that was a given. That she wasn't going to go anywhere for at least a couple of years. I said that. I didn't even know her. I kind of had a feeling she had a 5-year contract and it was coming up. I know I've said that before too, but like Rob said, we'll know by the end of the fiscal, which was this weekend. So, and we found out our answer. So he predicted that one. Hopefully he pops in here if he's got something to say more about that, I'm sure. But yeah, it's one of those things. And I know I feel your pain, man. I'm to the point where I really don't care about Star Wars anymore. If I really didn't have to talk about it for work like this, and I mean, that's the only part of sometimes where working for these kind of channels and stuff like that gets to be work, is where you just like, I don't want to talk about Star Wars anymore. It just depresses me. And I've brought this up a few times, and Mecha likes this analogy too, where I kind of compare it to an ex. It's like, it's a fresh breakup. I don't want to be reminded of shit that reminds me of Star Wars, because all it does is bring up bad emotions and feelings. Maybe a few years down the road, I'll be okay. But right now, I just don't want to even deal with it half the time.
You start hearing songs on the radio. Lopty Neck comes on, and it reminds you.
That's what I said in
my
rant. Yeah, that's what I said in my rant that one time. Like, it's just like when you're just broke up with somebody and you see a movie or a song you used to listen to that it's like you just want to just shut that out of your life for a while, and it seems really kind of just crazy to some people, but if you're ever in that position, you know exactly how that person feels. And that's kind of the way it's getting with Star Trek and Star Wars and some of these other properties, where they've just, they've just taken them and turned them into just soulless garbage.
Yeah,
McDonaldized it all.
Yeah. Oh, was it somebody tweeted something? I barely saw it. It looked like a thing of grapes or something like that with Chewbacca on like at the grocery store. I'm like, see, that's what's wrong. And George did that too, to a larger extent.
Oh yeah,
that was George. I mean, it's just the packaging of the Star Wars figures. It's so like plain wrap generic, and it's like, this one's gonna be red, and it's just like, there's just the old Star Wars figures. It was an art. The packaging was an art.
I will give George that. He did not allow the saturation to get to the point Disney has.
No, he would go hard for a while and then pump the brakes a little bit. So
especially when it comes to figures and stuff, because he would make sure there was only like one line to follow. You didn't have a dozen things out there. Like, you can walk into the dollar store and they've got their own line of fucking Star Wars figures there. These like 7-inch soft figures, I guess you'd call them, because they're not the hard plastic.
Yep.
But it's like, for, and I will give George that, even though I've said time and time again, since Return of the Jedi, this whole thing's been about selling plastic. I've said that numerous times, but at least he had the dignity to keep it, keep it at least in line to where it's like, okay, we're not going to overdo this thing to where, yeah, he may have said yes to the toothpaste, but
yeah, it's clear that
the denture cream is a little too far, but Disney will put it on anything. You got Star Wars toilet paper out there, I guarantee you.
Yeah, you do. I'm sure. Can't say I've seen it, but I would not be surprised at all.
I had a bunch of those for a while because they were on sale.
Yeah, I had there was some. God, there was what was it? Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy toilet paper. Got some of that in England.
Well, that I can understand. That makes sense.
Very happy to have.
Spaceballs, the toilet paper makes sense.
There you go. Yes, it does. Oh man, but
Star Wars the flamethrower. Yeah, right.
There you go.
Merchandising. The kids love it. Mina Schwartz be with you.
Oh man. Excuse me.
Brooks knew.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he was the prophet, Mel Brooks.
Oh shit. So let's get beyond that. Something you're probably interested in though is I seen this yesterday. I was at Best Buy. I was looking for a sound system and I didn't have enough money for the one I wanted. So I was real bummed. So I just went and splurged on a few movies. And there's Mecha Random. But anyway, I'll finish this story real quick. And I see this big display with they had a few HD Fox titles in there for the 4K titles in there, but it was a big display for Alita Battle Angel. December 21st. I'm like, why do they still have this up?
They're gonna, they should just put the changeable dates on it because it's gonna change again. Trust me.
Probably. But the reason I bring that up is not so much that I want to talk about Alita Battle Angel, as many people out there would love us to hear us talk about. I don't really have that much of a comment on it yet. I've seen the trailer. It was just like, okay. But the reason I bring it up is now we're getting a PG-13 Deadpool 2 on that day. What do you think about that, Gary?
Wow. It reminds me, I said it last night, they did this to Saturday Night Fever a long time ago. Like it was like a year later, and I went and saw it.
And a few other movies too. Yeah.
Yes.
Like the French Connectioners. I cannot remember the other movie of that period where they did that to it, and I can't.
It's another way to make money, and it's a placeholder. And I think it's probably because those other two movies were kind of bad, and they needed something to put in there. And it's what you said. I completely agree. It's testing the market to see how this flies. So they can have Deadpool and Spider-Man hook up. And my kid was excited about it. He was, but and then essentially that's kind of what you got to do. But the thing is, Deadpool is a joke. Now, if you comic book readers out there, you're going to know what I mean on this one. Deadpool, his popularity rises every few years when the superhero thing gets kind of played out and it becomes a perfect time to parody it. So that's how he got popular the first time. And I've seen this happen 4 times over the last 20 years where Deadpool all of a sudden has a rise in popularity and breaking the fourth wall is all fun. And, and it's the first time for somebody, but when you get old, you see things repeat, and it's happening in movies now. It's a perfect time for movies to start. This is why I mentioned in one of my live streams that, Watchmen, like now is the time to bring out a movie like Watchmen. When it came out before, it was way too early. You're deconstructing the superhero when you haven't constructed the superhero. So when now you have somebody whose parody is a parody of superheroes, but not like in the Tick sense or Venture Brothers in a very crass sense, and he doesn't work PG-13, period. I know it's a very long-winded way to say it doesn't work. It won't work. It might be funny at first for a little while, but that Deadpool is a joke, even when he's done right, gets old after a while. I mean, it has its run. And even the biggest fans out there, Deadpool's had canceled comics. They've canceled a lot of Deadpool. He has not had a continuous series for 30 years. So he has his place, and then people get bored of it. Then he comes back, and I think that's where we're kind of at right now. There's still plenty of Ryan Reynolds left, I think, but I don't think I give it like 3 or 4 more years.
Well, Random's not even a fan, so let's say hi to her quick since we have
Random.
Chance to.
Hi, I didn't want to step over anybody, so I wanted to keep myself muted. No, you guys are talking about like the Star Wars toilet paper and stuff, and there actually is Star Wars toilet paper.
Does it have George Lucas's face on it or Kathleen Kennedy's?
Let me see if I can pull it up for you guys. Where's my screen share? Where's my Google Hangouts? I gotta find it my Hangouts window. No, it's it's from the prequels. All right, is that working? Is that screen sharing? It looks like it's from the prequel era.
Hang on.
And I know that they had
up here so everybody can see it. There we go.
And I know that they had Star Wars on paper towels, and I know that they had like Han Solo on the Solo cups, and they just all over everything.
That was probably one of the only things that made me chuckle.
Yeah.
That was one of the, but I'll tell you, I've been into Walmart and Best Buys and stuff lately. They're flying off the shelves. People are buying Solo. That might be one of the reasons why Kathy got to keep her job, and that's why that story came out there, was they seen the pre-order sales on that.
Well, the outrage for The Last Jedi seemed to get more intense, not after the movie came out, but after the Blu-ray came out. That's when I can pinpoint it to when Ethan Van Sciver did just a off-the-cuff review on his channel of when the Blu-ray came out. It was probably like a week after the Blu-ray came out, and all of a sudden there was this huge resurgence in hating the movie again, because it kind of died down a little bit after the movie came out. So maybe more people are still, there's still people buying physical media for sure. And that's when the digital came out as well. So,
well, and I'm curious to see what the digital numbers are in that. They were boasting big numbers for the Blu-ray of The Last Jedi. And I was still like, okay, yeah, sure. It's sure selling on digital, physical media, but what was the digital sales? Because digital has kind of been cutting in big time. And I'm willing to bet Avengers just blew them all away either way. Because that I hardly seen a copy of that anywhere after it came out. So I don't know.
I think with the DVD sales, it just depends, and Blu-ray sales, it depends on where you're at, because I was at a Target recently and they had just a ton of Solo Blu-rays, DVDs, like a huge display. So
everywhere I went, they've been pretty much picked clean. Like, I mean, there's a few left, but not a lot. Like you can see where they were. I mean, I'm not saying that's in every area. I also live in an area where it's fairly rural. So, we sell, I'm sure people buy a lot more Blu-rays and DVDs and stuff still, as opposed to digital streaming where I'm from. But that's where I was like, asking like, how was the situation digitally with The Last Jedi and Solo? Because if they're not doing that well, then
I can imagine they're going to do better physically, because people want the collectible. A lot, even you were telling me, like, don't hate me. I wanted the complete
I ordered it in from the UK because it's the way I can get the 3D Blu-ray. I'm not gonna lie. I know there's people out there like me who are just, they have to have it in their collection because they do. Blame Walmart for having Batman and Robin for $5 on Blu-ray. Sue me. At least before I could say the only reason I had it was because it was in the box set. Now I can't say that anymore.
I know. For me, with Star Wars, though, I have not purchased a Blu-ray or a DVD for so long on Star Wars. Like, I had the 6 movies when they came out, with like Anakin when he's a little kid, in the sand picture with the Darth Vader shadow, and I sold them because I realized I don't really like the prequels, and I never had the urge to buy Force Awakens or Last Jedi on Blu-ray, and I'm certainly not going to buy Solo. And I'm a collector. You guys can see that, like, if you ever see what's behind me on my live streams. Yeah, but I know there's a lot of people who just want the thing. They want the collectible. They want the features. They want it on their shelf. And
like Dead School brought up here, Solo lost at least 330 million before DVD sales, no matter what lies Disney reports, because I don't think they've ever really reported how much the reshoots cost.
No,
but I've also brought up that they may have been able to offset that in some way with insurance. I don't know how much you guys know anything about how that kind of crap works in Hollywood, but I'm sure if you've seen The Producers, that is not inaccurate. They do that shit all the time.
Oh, yes.
In fact, I just talked to Tommy McLaughlin, and his first movie was made for that specific reason, or at least the money he got to fund it came from a company who was looking for a tax shelter.
Damn. Yeah, that's why B movies exist.
Yeah.
They're write-offs. Yeah, not surprised at all.
People have to factor that into, and I've said that is like with them losing the directors and firing them, there may be some kind of clause that they were able to recoup some of the budget in insurance in some way. So they could be possibly in the black. That is very possible with everything considered, if that is true. So, I mean, I've brought that up before, and that does probably, that's a possibility that why they're saying, oh yeah, Solo's going to just barely break even. That's the only way I can see that's possible. But yeah.
Yeah. And the movie, and it's just boring. The movie's just boring. And God, I don't know. I think it was Andy Tricker I was listening to last night. Couldn't agree more. As soon as Infus Nest showed up, I was out. I was so done.
Yep.
Solo is most definitely a B movie. God.
Yes.
It should have been, though. That's the sad part. If they would have took the tropes of B movies and gave us a Solo movie like that, I'd have been all on board. What we got was a boring piece of shit.
Yeah.
I don't care. I've seen so many people defend it lately. It's like, I'm sorry, I can't get behind it. I can't. I just cannot. Not for more so than what it stands, but it is just pandering and boring and bland and just so much of this shit that's like, I don't care. Why can't Han Solo's name just be Han Solo? Why does it have to be because he's Solo? And all that kind of crap. And fuck the dice. And him loving this one chick for 3 years and pining over her all this time, and the way they treated Lando was just ridiculous. And the whole Millennium Falcon thing with the robot was just ridiculous. And I've had so many people, they don't imply that they sleep together. Yes, they do. They have a whole scene where she talks about it.
Oh, it just works.
Yeah,
I'm sure Random has said that before.
I finally watched the honest trailers for that, and they're pretty much right. They say yes, it's basically a backstory of all of Han Solo's props. How do you get his gun? How do you get his name? Remember those dice that we never saw?
Who fucking cares? I want to see Han Solo being fucking Han Solo, not whiny ass, pussy ass fucking Solo who shoots first. Actually, just only shoots. You don't even really know if Woody Harrelson's necessarily going to shoot his ass. He's done nothing but, turn around, and every time he makes a wrong decision because you can tell he likes him, even though he's against him the whole time and working. It makes no fucking sense. It's not Han Solo. The Han Solo we should have is the same Han Solo we see in Episode 4. That's where his character arc kicks in.
Mm-hmm.
We want a scoundrel. We want a bad boy. We don't want some piney fucking Romeo wannabe who's just been spending 3 years doing God knows what while his woman's sitting in a fucking prison. I'm sorry. I don't buy the whole fucking story. Everything they did. Chewie, they ruined him too. I've never heard of Wookiees eating people. I'm sorry. That just, to me, just doesn't sit right.
Well, they went so dark in some places, and then so kid friendly in others, and they kind of made Han Solo like a side character in all these different movies that were sort of happening around him, and nothing really blended together. I mean, you had like the train heist movie, and then you had the betrayal of the girlfriend movie, and then you had this Chewbacca sort of prison movie,
right?
And Han Solo was just a side character that nobody really even cared about. He was the least interesting part of his own movie.
Well, right. And everything is there. And it's a lot like STD in that sense. And that's, I think, brought up in the roundtable, too. Because I said, why do they have a train to transport this shit?
Yeah.
Why isn't the facility just there? Not only that, you have things called spaceships that are much more level and stable than a train whipping and flipping around. And you got this unstable kind of, even though it's been refined or whatever now. It's like, why? So you can have a train heist because they were trying
have a ride?
like a fucking Western. So yeah, they want to have a train. They've got every Western trope in there. You've got the train heist, the standoff, all that kind of shit. Rivers727, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. At the risk of getting shunned, I love Solo. Its flaws, woke bot, how Solo got his name, Lando being Pan, but I want a trilogy with Alden. That's cool, Rivers727. And I know a lot of people that I even respect very much that liked the movie. Don't get me wrong. But I just can't buy into it. I can't. I see it for what it is. Sorry.
It's all right. It was a subpar episode of Young Indiana Jones. That's what it was equal to.
And Alden Ehrenreich, in my opinion, was the worst part of the movie.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He was not. Han Solo has a bravado, a deeper voice. And you make him younger, he could be timid at times, Han Solo was always kind of an idiot. That's part of it. But he was there was a confidence in there, and there's something you can't teach, and that's Harrison Ford. Which is Harrison Ford is a great actor, because if you've back in the old days, he used to not give interviews. His manager instructed him not to give interviews. He was very quiet, and his excuse was, I want you to know the character, not me, which sounded great. But once we started seeing actual interviews with Harrison Ford, we understood why. He had a very good manager. Has anybody seen or heard a Harrison Ford interview? I mean, you want to talk about a plank of wood. He is a very good actor, not very nuanced what was that? God damn. He was just on something talking about the environment, and I heard another YouTuber say something great. Yeah, I want to hear about the old guy with an earring who's crashed 2 planes. Tell me about the fucking environment. Thank you very much.
Mary asked me $2. You don't have to do that, Mary. And she says, thank you so much, Gary and Mecha. But no, thank you guys for being out there, and be nice in the chats. People like the movie. Wilk Report. Why not? Why don't we see? I'll get you an invite here. Why not? It's kind of a Sunday afternoon chit chat. We're all just shooting the shit anyway. Just give me a moment. Like I said, I know Rob might show up. I was going to have Jake come in, but he unfortunately had something come up. So we almost heard from Jake. Sorry, guys.
Did you let him out of the shed finally?
Jake? Yeah, we did. Yeah. Jake Bentley. He's a good friend of ours. He pops on from time to time. He's stand-up comedian, and he does his own stuff. He used to work a lot with Rob on his channel. Let's see here. Where are you, Mike? Well, if Larry's around too, he can pop into. Why not? Let's see here. But yeah, so we keep popping on Star Wars here.
I know, it's like, and if people like it, that's cool. I like subpar movies too, and you can find something enjoyable in it. It's not anything to do with you. It's just my taste and my perspective on Star Wars, which is totally different from anybody else's, and that's cool. I'm just ready to completely move on. And on my channel, I'm giving up clicks and all kinds of stuff, but it's fine. I'd rather talk about The Expanse.
Well, let's get back on Deadpool real quick, because and buried in all this news that's going around about the changing of dates, nobody mentioned New Mutants, which I guess we're left to assume is still on the same date that was announced for that. But
which was
when did they move that to now? I think it was something like that. Yeah, because it's moved so many damn times, I don't even remember anymore.
Last track.
But now June is the new date for Dark Phoenix. Gambit is still supposed to happen, and then to finish it all off, we're supposed to get a Deadpool 3, and according to the tweets that are out there, this is all supposed to happen by the end of next year.
What?
Yeah, I don't know how possible that is, but I mean, I said it makes sense if Fox is really going to go through with this, that they would finish up with another Deadpool movie and kind of just bring everything to a close on that end. But when Bob Iger says there doesn't need to be 2 Marvels and Kevin Feige's in charge of all that, I don't know if Fox is just going ahead and doing this to appease their investors, or what is going on over there.
Yeah, that kind of sounds like they're rushing out Deadpool. Like, I think it'd be insane to get rid of Ryan Reynolds, but maybe that world, and maybe they bring him in.
Well, I think, like you said,
you can do anything.
And I've said too, is Deadpool 2 with this whole PG-13 thing. I think they're going to try and make Deadpool 3 a PG-13 movie, and when it's all said and done, the only thing that's going to cross over from the Fox world into the Disney Marvel world is going to be Deadpool. But they'll already have him able to be toned down for PG-13. And somebody brought this joke up in the comments, and I've said it before. You can have fun with Deadpool in a PG-13 arena, but I don't want a Deadpool PG-13 movie. No, I'll accept him being PG-13 in any other Marvel movie, where you bleep him out and make fun of him and stuff like that he can't, because even somebody suggested that somebody says fuck before him. So then he gets all pissed that he can't say fuck because somebody already used the one fuck they can say in PG-13.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if
that's one joke, one scene, though. Yeah,
it's not just the F-bombs, though. It's the
no. It's the other stuff too.
Yeah, and that's stuff you can't bleep out and can't even insinuate. So,
and I think that's what this Deadpool 2 thing is all about. I think they're gonna have some fun with. We know but that's what just it though, is once it gets to that point, is the joke lost, because we know it's supposed to be gory. We know it's supposed to be, sexually suggestive or worse. We know it's supposed to have a lot of swearing in it. So how are they going to polish over this shit? And then once you do, and you don't have the other version to compare it to, or at least until DVD comes out, aren't the jokes kind of lost?
Yeah, completely. And there is a PG-13 Deadpool out there. It's pretty much the one that's currently in the comics right now, and it's unreadable. It's like not good. So, and he has moments of being good, and some of those have been PG-13, but there's a very good comic book writers who've been doing it. So,
I was thinking, like, well, why would they do it with part 2 then, though? Because, if you want to argue my point for the kids, I said, oh, they want to see if they can get families in there. And I said, well, then why don't they do part 1? Well, I'm just thinking, well, duh. Guess what's going to be about the time part 1 comes out on regular television for the television version? Right about that time.
Yep.
So you're going to see the first Deadpool movie drop for its network premiere just before the second movie comes out to promote the second movie in PG-13 form. We're going to see the sanitization of Deadpool. And I've told people that they were wrong about this before, and I apologize because I was wrong. I did not think Disney would sink to this point, but if they do, then fuck them. I can't believe that they would do that.
Yeah, I kind of did. I didn't think they would. I thought they would be smart enough to leave this one alone. I keep bringing back the prior cases. I mean, it's a much smaller scale, but I say again, the Spectacular Spider-Man cartoon and the Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes cartoons were 2 excellent. Like, Marvel had finally made some good cartoons. It had been a long time, and they axed those things immediately when they bought Marvel. And I think that was just a precursor to things to come. Kevin Feige has shown he wants to do his own thing. And so I think carrying over wise, I think maybe they'll carry over Daredevil, maybe. And I think the most likely candidate is Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool, but everybody else is gone, I think.
Honestly, I think once the Marvel Netflix shows are done, I don't know if we'll really see any of those characters again.
I don't think so either. I really don't. That's why they're being rushed out as well. And there is something to Fox rushing this stuff out and Netflix rushing. I mean, Netflix released 4 shows this year. Daredevil is yet to come out. And then 3 months later, Punisher's coming out. That's 5 in 18 months. Damn. Hi, Random.
Hi, I'm paying attention over to the chat. No, we never get to hear Gary, so I wanted to keep myself muted because, like, I always dominate the conversation when I'm on here. So,
well, I know you don't have much to say about this anyway. So yeah,
it's comic book stuff. Yeah, and so I gotta check myself too. I'm on somebody else's channel, so.
No, we want to hear what you have to say. We want to hear because you're like the knowledgeable person when it comes to like the TV shows and the comic books and. Yeah, I just don't want to come in with like, yep, I don't read them. I don't watch them.
Well, you know more than you let on a lot of the time.
Well, yeah, I that's kind of one of my pet peeves about a lot of the sort of YouTubers that I see is that they're like, yes, I grew up with this and I know everything about it. Just like the picture I put in our group chat, and I'm not going to name who it was, but I noticed that the girl had Princess Leia buns, a Star Trek uniform, and was reviewing a movie that had nothing to do with either. Because sci-fi, and yeah. So.
Yes.
Yep.
And it was one of those. Yeah. 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 That was a great example, though. Well
I know.
done. It was a great example of a tourist, we'll say.
Yeah. So if I do know something, like I don't like to give the impression that I know more than I do about a lot of these things. So.
I think it's a great point, though, that you bring up that you don't read the comics and you're not into this stuff and you're a true blue nerd. There's no denying that you are a nerd. So you are in the demo, but still you're not interested in it.
And but we respect you for that, though. You'll at least say, I don't know, or I don't like it, or
yeah. That's the whole point. It's not a dig at you at all. It is.
Oh yeah.
It is that they have failed at reaching you, and it's because maybe this thing is just for mostly guys and boys, and saying that is like, ooh, controversial now, but they've been really going hard in the comic book industry on some very bad data to try to get more women in, which we definitely want. We want more people reading comics all the fucking time. But the thing is, they overcorrected for 20% of their audience. They think that 50% of their audience is women, and it's not. It's just not. I was in one of the most female friendly areas for comic shops and one of the most family and female friendly comic shops, and we had 20% was our subscriber base, which was good. And I fought hard for that. It took me years to build that because it used to be 0. So they are making headway, and it is good, but I think they overcorrected on faulty data. So because half they based it on a Facebook poll, which asked you basically, are you interested in comics? And 51% women said yes, they're interested in comics. They're interested in them. They like the look of them. Will buy a pop vinyl. Doesn't mean I go and a comic fan is going in once a month and buying a big stack of books. That's being a true blue. Otherwise, you're a casual comic fan. There's nothing wrong with that.
I always thought women were comic fans.
They are.
I was a huge Archie
Wilk Report, Mike from the Wilk Report.
Finally figured that out. It turns out Firefox doesn't allow Google Hangouts, but Internet Explorer, which is outdated and no longer used much, is
weird.
But I have Windows 7, so I don't use that Microsoft Edge bullshit. I'm sorry. Pardon my French.
No, we're all right with that.
It's fucking bullshit. No.
But yeah, we're just having a Sunday hangout here, so
yeah,
just kind of keeping it loose and limber.
Yeah, it's pretty funny because I was just reading the horrendous news about Kathleen Kennedy getting another 3 years. It's like, why? It's like I'm thinking, Bob Iger, what in the name of sanity are you doing?
He's capitulating to her as much as possible, but still making it impossible for her to do anything. So we're on the outside, we're going to make you look like a queen. On the inside, you can't make decisions. You're not going to be able to do any. I don't know. I don't pay attention too much, but has she been out there? I mean, have she given interviews? Has anybody seen her lately?
Right. Well, we've gone from rumors all summer about her stepping down in September to now officially she's getting a 3-year extension on her contract. And it just strikes me as being odd because Iger is at the same time saying, well, maybe releasing one Star Wars movie a year is a little bit much. And basically saying that they're going to scale back. But, other than episode 9, there's really no demand. And, as things stand now, is anyone even going to go see episode 9? No one cares anymore.
No, I don't think it's going to hit $1 billion. Do you, Tom? Tom says yes.
I think it will be the first episode movie not to, in the modern ones anyway. And by inflation, I think it's going to be one of the lowest grossing ones yet. I think Solo showed that's what's going to happen. And we also have Larry from the Wilk Report as well.
Larry, welcome.
I can't hear you, Larry. There we go. I think we got you. There he is.
Larry.
We got video.
Yeah, like if the next episode does more than $1 billion, it'll just be because they do something extraordinarily correct. And I don't think they're going to do anything that amazing. I don't think they're going to give us everything that we wanted in episode 8. I don't think they're going to do that. And I think a lot of people are just pissed off. They're hurt. A lot of people are saying they're going to go buy a ticket to another movie. A lot of people are saying, we're just done. A lot of people are telling me they're going to pirate it. I don't know.
See, I have no desire even to pirate the thing because it's so bad. I mean, honestly, this is one of those things where you've alienated so much of the audience, and all Ruin Johnson had to do was just follow the playbook that Jar Jar Abrams had set down. It was a bad playbook, but it was still a playbook. And he decided, we don't need one. And by the way, I'm impatient to get my trilogy, so I'm just going to screw this one up so bad that they can't finish it because mine's better anyway. It'll be awesome. I'm a genius.
For me, can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
For me, the whole thing is you don't want to pirate it. You don't want to do the jump from one theater to another gig. What you want to do is you want to wait. You want to wait exactly 2 to 3 weeks before you see it, so that they know there's this audience that could have been counted on for week 1 or week 2 that all of a sudden shows up in week 3 after the initial wave crashes. That way they know who the people are who are boycotting.
Yeah. I mean, if you really have to see it, I would totally stick with that. I agree with you on that. I'm going to see it for the channel, of course. Or otherwise I would not go. I wouldn't have gone to Solo. I wouldn't have gone. And honestly, I wouldn't have gone to Last Jedi. I was out at The Force Awakens. So
well, I hear they're actually going to be doing a sequel to Solo. It's going to be called Pan.
Yes. Where he has sex with actual pans, with Corningware pans, toasters, all kinds of stuff.
Glassware.
But for me, my parents took me to see the original one in '77 as a baby, so I need to have this closure in my life of seeing the last of these movies. It's the same thing as with Revenge of the Sith. I didn't want to see it. I saw it because I needed closure.
Yeah. And you want to see the end. I was the exact same way. I was over the cliff, but I had to see, the battle at Mustafar. I had to see that. So,
the problem is that Ruin Johnson ended The Last Jedi in such a way that it really makes a sequel all but impossible.
Yeah.
So you can't get closure unless you have to go the route that the Harry Potter movies took for the last one, where they divided it into 2 parts because there was so much to put into it. They didn't want to leave anything out. But here, Jar Jar Abrams has to pretty much retcon as much as he can from The Last Jedi just to go and be able to make episode 9. So basically, we're going to see episode 9.1 and then episode 9.2. That's really about the only way I can think of that he's going to be able to pull this off. But they're not going to have the budget for it because the investors aren't going to want to put the money down. Not after Solo.
No, I was waiting for that announcement to come out for them. They're going to split it. I'm surprised they haven't.
Well, I don't think they filmed enough actual footage to decide if they have 2 movies worth of story to go with.
Gotcha.
But the problem is, even if you split into 2 movies, The Last Jedi really cut a lot of the story meat that was set up in The Force Awakens. Like,
I don't think it's going to get split up, but yeah.
Right, unless you have it to where all of The Last Jedi was just a dream, but then again, that pretty much defeats the purpose of making it a trilogy. You have to make it a quadrilogy.
Yeah.
Just to be able to have that closure. And again, Abrams is the kind of guy, and I've said this before, he never likes to stick around and finish anything. So, he never actually planned on having to come back and wrap everything up, but now he has to wrap everything up on the heels of something that already wrapped everything up.
I mean, let's face it, Rey's not going to go off into the sunset with the space Nazi. We all know this. She's probably not going to go off into the sunset with Poe. They're not going to do the other interesting thing they could do and have a Poe Finn or a Finn Rey story. So that's not going to happen. We know that's not going to happen. So they're going to confront Kylo. Kylo's going to die. They're probably not going to have Kylo die redeeming himself because that's what they've done before. And with Vader, he was the inversion, so he has to be evil. There really isn't a lot of story to do for 9.
Now, what they're going to do in part 9, and this is just supposition on my part, but it makes sense, and in keeping with what Ruin Johnson has already established, Kylo trips over a porg and falls to his death, and then the whole rest of the movie is Rey trying to figure out where to go from there because there is no longer any purpose to her existence.
That actually sounds better than what they'll do, though.
Yeah.
It's going to be time travel.
Either that or time travel involving Jar Jar Binks. And it turns out they're creating him as the ultimate evil when they get back to the future.
Because Jar Jar Binks,
you're gonna have to get Robert Zemeckis to come in and help with the time travel mechanics, because he's about the only filmmaker who's ever done a popular trilogy who's actually handled time travel well.
Did you actually see the episode of Rebels where they had the time travel dimension?
No, I haven't, nor do I want to.
There's like an extra dimension between dimensions, so the main character was able to go pull Ahsoka Tano out, and so she didn't really die. So I'm sure they're going to go back to that well.
Spoilers?
I'm sure somehow Han's going to get thrown into this.
Endar, thank you so much for the $2 donation. Episode 9, The Meandering Menace. Yeah, more like The Meandering Mess, probably, but yeah.
Yeah.
He's your father, Rey.
Have something to tell you.
That would be a way to kind of justify how much people hate her, though, at least.
Oh, yeah,
the problem is that there's really not a reason you need to hate Rey.
I know.
No, really, there's not.
She's Ma Rae Sue, and is so perfect, and it's like, I mean, there's no hero's journey.
I'll be honest. This is the one praise. One of the few praises you'll ever hear me say about The Last Jedi. I actually liked her character better in The Last Jedi than I did in Force Awakens, because she seemed more flawed, and she seemed like she wasn't getting the answers she was frustrated, and you actually seen some emotion out of her, and she wasn't quote unquote perfect. I mean, yeah, there was that scene with fucking Kylo Ben in the whole with all the fighting and shit, but that was so badly
yeah. Well, they had to take out like the knife and stab her in the back, even.
Yeah. Well, at least there was some aspects of Rey in The Last Jedi where a real character, not just kind of there to be a de facto Luke like she was in Force Awakens. I don't know if anybody else agrees with me on that, but I mean, I don't know. It just kind of stuck out to me that her character seemed like had a little bit different kind of but that was just because Rian Johnson didn't have any continuity between the characters. That's probably why. I'm probably giving him way too much credit on that. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but why don't we start with Mecha on that one? If you have anything to say about my feelings,
what do you mean specifically?
Like I felt that Rey, despite all of The Last Jedi's flaws, Rey's character was actually better in The Last Jedi than she was in The Force Awakens. Because in Force Awakens, and I'm sure most people agree that she just seemed like the de facto Luke character. In that film, she seemed like she had a little bit more depth.
I kind of hated her more in The Last Jedi because I was so sick of her, because I was so looking forward to Luke Skywalker coming in, and I think
such a like or hate thing.
Well, yeah,
right. I mean, if you're going to kill off the original cast, I mean, do it with dignity. I mean, it's like having Luke Skywalker fade away like a bitch, on a faraway planet because he couldn't even be bothered to go. I mean, if he's going to die in battle, have him go out properly in a blaze of glory. I mean, Johnson, and you can actually tell during the premiere. There's that video clip, you can find it on YouTube and God knows where else, where Mark Hamill is sitting next to Ruin Johnson, who's tapping away, texting on Twitter, trolling people, and not noticing that Hamill is looking at him like he wants to force choke him because of what he did to Luke Skywalker.
Oh, he handled that like a pro. But yeah, what else did you have to say about that, Mecha? And then I'll.
Well, I was just like so disappointed. Like I could forgive Force Awakens for kind of setting up this character that at least I personally didn't care about that much, because they gave us the hint that, oh my gosh, this is going to get good. We're going to get Luke Skywalker. We're going to get all of these elements, and we're going to get like some vengeance for Han Solo's death, and we're going to get Carrie Fisher, and we're going to have like the whole movie with Luke training Rey and making her worthy and making her useful. And we didn't get any of that. And The Last Jedi really made The Force Awakens worse in retrospect. And I didn't have that big of a problem with her in Force Awakens until The Last Jedi. Until I'm like, okay, we're really going with this girl who can fly the Millennium Falcon better than Han, fix it better than Han and Chewie, gets the Millennium Falcon rather than Chewbacca. Like, why did she even inherit it? Right. And then we don't even get the satisfaction of like Luke Skywalker having anything to do in Last Jedi.
And that's kind of where I felt like her character was a little bit more flawed in The Last Jedi. And I said, it doesn't matter at that point whether you like it or not. I just felt like at least she wasn't just there.
Yeah.
I mean, she had more to do with the story, and it felt like she was emotionally involved somehow. What do you think, Gary? Did you notice a difference at all in that aspect of what I'm saying there, or you totally disagree? I mean, I know I'm giving Ryan too much credit. That's for sure.
Yeah, she annoyed the hell out of me. I mean, I could see where you would see that. But I never saw her as a full-fledged character. She did, she showed more range than she did in the first one, and like, look, I fixed the Millennium Falcon because I'm awesome or whatever.
Right. Well, I'm linking you to an episode of Shadiversity where actually the guy actually goes into why Rey's lightsaber training and use is completely wrong.
Oh, it's awful. It's awful.
Right.
You can see she barely knows how to hold one. But I mean, I was so pissed from The Force Awakens anyway, and the way they did Han Solo. There was no way I was gonna like The Last Jedi would have had to been like Bridge Over the River Kwai if it like was gonna impress me as a movie. I was just done with it at that point. So I had a bunch of preconceived, notions when I walked in anyway, and resentments. But what they did to Luke was the worst. But with Rey, yeah, I mean, like the one interesting scene was the Skype one, the one everybody complains about, but it was an interesting scene. That's like, if they actually get them together and they hook up and they become like the terror of the galaxy, then fucking I'm kind of in with that story. Of course they didn't do that. That was the most interesting thing. Yes, with Kylo with his, granddad pants on up to his belly button and with his shirt off.
Actually past his belly button. I think it was like almost
that was like up to his shoulders. Yeah. No, just copying the original trilogy and then getting the one main thing wrong, which was Han Solo the original trilogy was based on pieces, and one of the main pieces was Han Solo. Han Solo was the cool guy. Han Solo was the relatable guy. He was the funny. He was funny, but he wasn't lame funny like Finn. And
Well, yeah, Finn and what's his face, Poe were supposed to be your de facto Han Solo characters.
And Poe is like, I mean, arguably, I think people say Poe's kind of like the best of the new characters, and I would agree with that. But it's because he doesn't do anything. I mean, like the only thing he did that made sense was arguing with Admiral Gender Studies.
I agree. He would have served the movies better if he would actually died like he was supposed to in the first place.
My big problem fundamentally is they didn't want to make a carbon copy of Empire, but really that was the best way to follow up The Force Awakens.
There's ways you can play with that.
The Force Awakens was a rehash of A New Hope anyway. So if they're going to rehash everything, then But here's my biggest problem with it is that you've got all this stuff going wrong with the movie. It's gone from a movie that has divided the fans and resulted in the next movie in the franchise losing money. And you're rewarding the people who made this happen in the first place by giving them 3 more years to screw everything up.
Well, I think Bob Iger's going to have to sign off on everything Kathleen
That's
Kennedy
what I was
does.
saying, yeah.
And I think this is basically 3 years for Dave Filoni to develop a relationship with Bob and the senior management.
I don't think Filoni's ever going to be running Star Wars. I really don't. He's where he needs to be. I got to say this, though, real quick, guys. Tim Augustine, thank you so much for the $5 donation. I have returned from the land of song and fairies to request musical theater. Rob, play us out with your theme song, Pilot Light, or make Mecha. So we'll see about that. I don't know. Maybe I'll break out the guitar later. But anyway, go on, Larry.
But I think that Dave is the only guy who has the vision to lead Star Wars at the moment. But I don't think he has the necessary abilities, and he may never have them, to run something on the order of Lucasfilm.
Right. That's what I'm getting.
Right, and people on the Midnight's Edge Facebook page, they keep defending Kennedy. It's like as though she's the brains behind everything that Lucasfilm ever did, and she was the one who actually made the movies. And it's like George Lucas and Steven Spielberg were just, hirees. It's like, no, those were the main guys. Kathleen Kennedy was a glorified paper pusher.
Yeah,
she got the money raised. She, she kind of like, organized the office stuff, but. That's pretty much it.
And you know what? If she just did the office stuff, there was a chief creative officer underneath her and maybe a chief financial officer, somebody who could say, hey, listen, we can't fire these 2 directors after they've basically made the entire movie and reshoot the entire movie again. That's a terrible idea. Stop it.
Agreed. Totally agreed. Yeah, she had, is Spielberg directing the next Indiana Jones film, Tom?
I have not heard, but I think that's I was going to say, I think that's the assumption.
Why is Harrison Ford bringing all of his great characters and having to see them? It's a shambling.
David kept writing it anyway. Because that's one of Spielberg's guys. So if that's the case, then I'd imagine.
Who's
writing? I think it's David Koepp who's writing it.
Oh, God.
But why does
you could probably have Anthony Ingruber come back and play a young Indiana Jones.
That was the plan. That was what we reported, and nobody seemed to pick up on. And there's actually a basis for this. Was that Kathleen Kennedy's fucking plan was to interject Alden Ehrenreich.
No.
Yeah, whatever the hell his goddamn name is into young Harrison Ford role in Indiana Jones as well.
So the fifth Indiana Jones film would have been a young Indiana Jones.
Exactly.
But
remember the one where Harrison Ford was in? That was a good one.
Well, Steven Spielberg says he wants the fifth one to be Harrison's, but
I do remember. Sure. Oh, he'll be in it, but there's supposed to be some like flashbacks or something like that, and it's supposed to establish Alden motherfucking Redenbacher is.
No, he's not good. He's not a good Harrison Ford.
Right. Well, they had to have an acting coach come in and hold his hand throughout the entire production. I mean, if they're going,
here's the problem.
If Ron Howard had to come in and essentially remake the entire film from scratch, he should have just started over completely. Recast it with Anthony Ingruber to play Han Solo because he looked and sounds and can act the part. Just say, look, this actor is not working out. If I have to remake the whole thing
all the
anyway,
time.
Right.
They restarted Game of Thrones because they recast Catelyn Stark. I mean, they do it like, it's such great delivery. He had like, so I heard some stories about you.
But the problem is that script was terrible.
It was fucking awful.
And if Ron Howard couldn't save it, who could?
I don't think Alden could have done anything with what he was given. He's done okay in other roles, but I don't think he was the right fit for Harrison Ford. Let's face it, most of Harrison Ford's characters are Harrison Ford. Let's be realistic.
Yeah, and the reason they brought the acting coach in was for his voice, to get it deeper, to make it sound more like Harrison Ford, to be more of an impressionist. It wasn't his actual.
Hey, now wait a minute! I sound like Harrison Ford.
I sound just like him.
That reminds me of the time Justin Timberlake tried to be Jimmy Olsen. And they told him, maybe if you smoke some cigars and start drinking coffee, you could sound more like Jimmy Olsen.
Mage Grey Wolf says in the chat, I'm trying to go back up here. So there's 145 of you guys watching. Thank you so much for joining us. And I'm
guessing one of them must be the one that voted the video down.
I'm sure somebody did.
We'll win you back.
There's always one or two. That's all right. That's pretty good ratio. I ain't gonna complain.
There's only 22 likes though. Come on, folks.
But Mage Grey Wolf was just saying that Doomcock is only 45 subscribers away from 10K. So if you have not subscribed to Doomcock, I'm sure one of our lovely wrench wenches will drop the his link in there in the chat. If they haven't already, go over there and make sure you're subscribed, because YouTube does like to unsubscribe people. And if you haven't subscribed, get over there and subscribe. Let's get them over 10K and subscribe to Gary and Mike and Larry and those guys. Check them out. The links are I know the ladies are dropping the links, and Tyler's not a lady, but he can be a de facto for now because I want him to be. I'm sure he won't.
Well,
he'll just giggle free.
You can make as many accounts.
Tyler's a good guy. He knows we love him.
Right. Well, if you don't mind having me drop my Patreon link in the chat, I'll. Just my financial situation's a little wonky.
Check out his channel, guys. He's got. I mean, I know you guys get into some of the political stuff sometimes, but you guys do have some great entertainment insight.
Right.
And
we try and keep it limited to the Hollywood politics, not the Washington D.C. politics, because Washington D.C. politics is more messed up than any of us really have time for.
But I kind of want to move to a different question. Why is Harrison Ford making all of his iconic hyper-masculine characters into broken-down, sad old men?
Because he's a broken-down, sad old man right now.
Exactly.
If I poop my pants.
I mean, it's kind of like Clint Eastwood now. I mean, he's like pushing 90, isn't he?
But at least with Clint Eastwood, there was a character arc to Clint Eastwood's acting roles that makes sense.
Well, okay, if you're going to introduce logic into it, then, and I don't see why I should have to continue with you, Larry.
Look, Harrison Ford's decisions aren't logical.
Are we watching the breakup right in front of our eyes?
No.
I'm kidding.
But Harrison
Do I have to let Larry stay at Midnight's Edge for a few days?
But
Larry, you're listening to him, but you're not hearing him.
Yeah, Jake's got lots of.
but seriously though, another actor like that is Bruce Willis. Like, how long are we going to see Bruce Willis becoming a sad, shambling, broken husk of his former self in his acting roles?
I would give Bruce Willis this much. I think he's come to a point where he's realized where he's went wrong. So he made a really strange phone call to Kevin Smith in the middle of the night after shooting Death Wish. And if anybody knows the history between Kevin Smith and Bruce Willis, Kevin Smith was taken aback by getting this phone call. He was waiting for something to drop, like Bruce to like pull some bullshit on him. But no, I guess they had a really nice conversation for like 2 or 3 hours, he said. And at the end of the conversation, they just said, oh yeah, we got to do something together soon or something like that, you know? So, and then between Bruce Willis allowing himself to be roasted, this guy is very, let's put it this way. Kevin Smith wanted him to be in Jersey Girl. And that was the whole joke, was that Bruce Willis was trying to kick off his music career, but he told Kevin no, because he wasn't going to make fun of himself like that. But Will Smith was cool with it. So that's how Will Smith wound up in that movie instead. And to me, that sounds like Bruce Willis is trying to patch up a lot of burnt bridges. Because we remember, what was it, like 2 years ago, he got basically told to fuck off. Well, he got told to fuck off from Expendables 3 because
he and Stallone were being bitchy to each other.
And Stallone called him greedy and lazy because he wanted like $1 million for a day's worth of work or something like that.
Well, that is being greedy and lazy. But yeah, Tim Augustine made an excellent suggestion. Bruce Willis and Harrison Ford are buddy cops infiltrating a retirement home. Fund it.
Oh God. What was that one movie with Kirk Douglas where he was like an old gangster with, I think, Art Carney, and they were like in the nursing home?
I know which one you're talking about. Let me look that up. Actually,
that could be interesting.
I remember that movie. Old.
But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stories out there that support Kevin's stories of Bruce.
Yeah, and maybe this new Die Hard movie won't be a horrible.
Oh, it's going to be a piece of shit.
Be a giant piece.
Don't get me wrong; it's going to be a piece of shit. They're doing Baby Die Hard, so who cares?
But hey, Baby Die Hard was originally done by Frank Sinatra. Don't forget.
Was what? You broke up there.
No. Frank Sinatra. The John McClane.
Oh, that's true. That is
done by Frank Sinatra.
True. Most people don't realize that was based on the first novel or whatever. Die Hard. But the thing is, with the way John McClane was set up in the first Die Hard movie as Bruce Willis,
tough guys.
He was supposed to just be this everyday fucking schlub who's never really seen shit like this before. You know what I mean? And he just happens to just get by the skin of his teeth. You know, he's a desk jockey and detective in New York who doesn't want to work. That's why I love, because he's back to the way we know him, and that's why I'm not such a big fan of the second movie, because like the third movie is that natural extension of what you see he should be. He's broken down. He doesn't want to do this shit anymore. He's not a hero. He doesn't want to be a fucking hero. You know, he's like Jack and Big Trouble in Little China and shit. Like he's not meant to be the hero. He just happens to be in the wrong place at the wrong fucking time.
He really wasn't the hero in the movie.
The first movie was kind of heroic, how he ended up back with Holly, and
But that's the thing, is I got the impression that he's never really seen a lot of action before.
No, he definitely that's like he was rolling natural 20s across the board that whole night at the tower.
Yeah, Chris Parza, thank you so much for the Canadian $2 super chat. Mecha, I can only push the button once. Don't hurt me.
Because I told everybody, if they don't, there's 155 people watching and 43 thumbs up. So I said, don't make me use my secret powers against you guys.
She's got cannons front and rear.
So have you guys had the opportunity to look over the whole diversity in comics lawsuit?
I know about it.
Gary, is this okay about this?
Okay, Richard Meyer, who is Diversity in Comics,
aka your boy Zach,
who pretty much kicked off Comicsgate. I mean, there was people who came before him, but he's the one who kind of got the ball rolling. He was the
gasoline on the fire.
Yeah, because Captain Cummings was truly the one who started it. But
Great Balls on Fire.
Yeah, so he's doing a comic book, and he was going to publish it through Antarctic Press, that who does a lot of anime stuff. At least that's what I remember when I was.
They also do a lot of weird Republican humor stuff.
Like, so they wanted to
cringe to your humor.
Yeah, they wanted to like kind of corner the market on like kind of semi right-wing comics. So they asked a couple people, and EVS told this story too. They asked EVS, they asked Richard. Richard said yes, he was going to publish his comic through them. Supposedly Mark Waid, a writer for Marvel, a big time writer for Marvel, called and talk them out of the contract that they had. They had a contract with Richard, and he called and talked them out of it. It's called
tortious interference.
Tortious interference. Yes, it is actually breaking a law, but it's incredibly hard to prove, like copyright law. Like there's a lot that you have to. So he's suing Mark Waid for this right now. The thing that he's got to prove that Mark Waid harmed him. Problem is, Richard went out and did an Indiegogo, a very, very, very successful one. So he's going to have a hard time proving it. I hope he wins.
Because he also did a successful Indiegogo project for his project. So
yes, he did. I like John Malin quite a
bit. He's also suing Mark Waid for defamation of character because of him saying tons of stuff that are knowably false about him. And he also had a recorded phone conversation with Mark Waid where he probably has Mark Waid on tape saying, "Listen, I know you're not any of these things I'm saying you are."
No, and you're right about that. I've seen Mark Waid say stuff about him on Twitter and Facebook. So that he might have something there. I think
right. According to bleedingcool.com, they posted a statement from Antarctic Press, and I'm going to quote this paragraph here if you don't mind. They're saying, "This is an untrue story. Please do not spread it. Nobody at AP contacted Marvel. Mark Waid did not bully anyone in our company, though we did call and express concern." No letters were right. No letters were written between us and Marvel. Mark shed more light on the situation, and other factors came into play that do not involve any staff or freelancers at any other company that led us to our decision. We wish the Jawbreakers team success in the next phase. It's now bigger than we could have handled. They have lined up another publisher who can get them into a bigger venue than we could have. So that's Antarctic Press's statement. Now, that's how true it is.
That's a nice lawyer document.
It is. Richard's still going to have a very hard time. If he was with Antarctic, he would have gotten into comic stores. He would have had a chance because it would have gone through Diamond. Now Richard is self-publishing, which means he has to cut an agreement with Diamond if he wants to go that route to get into comic stores. There is other ways to get into comic stores. You contact each individual owner and ask them if they'll sell your comic. It's pretty easy. There's not that many of them, but I think Richard really wants to go through wants to help the comic industry. And from his perspective, he wants to help comic stores, which need a lot of help right now.
There's another bit of arcana to this. And he could, in theory, be suing Mark Waid over this to prevent anybody from putting pressure on Diamond to keep him out for illegitimate reasons. Basically saying, look, I'm willing to defend myself in court if you do this sorts of things. That could be what this is for. This could be a preemptive legal strike to try to scare off anybody from being a miscreant.
And that's true. And that's true because they're going to come hard after Diamond, and Diamond can say no to them.
They are a known monopoly.
Yes, the monopoly, the accidental monopoly. But the owner of Diamond, he kind of, I just what I know of him, I think he agrees with Richard's politics. That would be my best guess, knowing what, but he's just the owner. They still might, buckle under the pressure, which they're going to get. They're going to get murdered when that happens.
If you can prove the defamation and the tortious interference, there's a possibility. It would depend on what's in Mark Waid's contract with Marvel, that Marvel had a duty to supervise his behavior and that they failed to do so, and that he could sue Marvel after that. But that's a lot of hypotheticals between here and there.
Okay, well, that's because if he's officially on staff, if he is an independent contractor, CB Cebulski's already come out there. He's the editor-in-chief at Marvel and said, hey, we have no control over independent contractors, which is still kind of bullshit because I was an independent contractor and I couldn't talk shit.
Legally, an independent contractor, even if it doesn't explicitly say in the contract, they have certain obligations to supervise independent contractors.
They do. Yeah, my contract with Technicolor said it. There's a I forgot what it is. It's basically I need to behave myself. I can't go use Technicolor from my Technicolor email. I can't talk shit about anybody, and I can't go talk shit about I'm representing the company on social media. And this was back in 2011. So
right. Although Washington Post and I just posted the link in the chat, but Washington Post had something earlier this month about Comicsgate in general. And they brought up Chelsea Kane, and Chelsea Kane actually seems to be in the news again.
Also, interestingly enough, somebody inside the comics industry has leaked material about Chelsea Kane to your boy Zach and some of the other Comicsgate people, because how she left her current arrangement with Marvel. So people are saying, listen, we don't like you, but here, you do with this whatever you're going to do with this. Because her most recent comic book starts off with the main character playing with tampon superheroes.
Tyler Bioshock wants to know who Chelsea Kane is, so I'm sure there's some people out there who
She's
might not know.
Published author / young adult author who's had some actual bestsellers, but they're mostly like airport books, the kind of books you see in airports and buy them to read on planes.
Yeah.
She had a 8-issue run on Mockingbird that got canceled, and she was a lightning rod for a lot of the Comicsgate controversy because she didn't really care about the character of Mockingbird, and she completely retconned literally everything about her and made her an ultra-feminist, Z-list superhero who was all about wubbing the science.
Right, but see, here's the thing, though. And Meyer really kind of stepped over the line where, he started attacking Kane and also went after Magdalene Visaggio, who was a trans woman, and misgendered her, claimed she was crazy. And the Daily Beast actually posted a video that Meyer had made railing against
the Dark Roast.
The Dark Roast. Basically, it was an attempt
to... So it's not like Meyer really didn't actually say any of the things he's said.
The Dark Roast was a special Patreon / insider exclusive video that he made, and it was made in an attempt to rip off the style of another Comicsgate personality named Nurkish.
Yeah, it was all done like super tongue in cheek. I mean, sorry, Richard, but yeah, Richard, if you asked for it, he would send it to you to a certain amount of people, and I had brief emails with him before, so he emailed it to me. I saw it. It was completely tame compared to what other YouTubers have done. And yeah, you were exactly right. Sorry to interrupt you, but yeah, I did see it when it came out, and it was his attempt to be Nurkish. It was a bad one.
Here's the thing.
Okay, so basically Washington Post and Daily Beast have kind of jumped a shark, do you think?
A little bit. No, you're right in one thing. He called Mags a man in a wig. He kept on saying man in a wig, which doesn't help.
Flip Mags off because she's got some personality issues, which you can see in her writing.
Yeah, there was personal attacks that should not have been done. That really did him no favors.
And Mags, when he made that joke about a man in a wig, she threatened to beat him with a baseball bat, bust out all his teeth, threaten his kids.
Yep. Oh, it's both ways. And the thing is, but Richard, he knows this now. He can't be doing stuff like that. They can get away with it all day long.
That was like a year and a half ago.
Yeah. Yeah,
but
and I agree.
But
it's
comics
still
professionals who don't want to deal with his critique, they circulate that because that's all they have. Also, they don't want to talk about the fact that the jokes about Heather Antos were based around well-known rumors in the comics industry, and having an editor hire an assistant editor that he was sleeping with, allegedly, is a human resource problem.
That's the only. I mean, Richard had a great argument. He still has a lot of people behind him. I back the guy. I do. But, and he'll admit, this stuff that he said, it was a year ago, and there's a lot of his stuff is taken way out of context, but that doesn't matter when you're out here battling on the internet. Nuance doesn't matter. It just doesn't. That stuff is stuck with him, and that's, I think, why EVS is kind of taking the reins a little bit.
That's kind of why I've largely stopped going on political discussion forums, because I used to do that in the early 2000s, and the problem is that context matters, and when you're putting something into type, well, that doesn't always translate well.
Yeah.
So if you're being sarcastic, you actually have to go out of your way to let people know you're being sarcastic, which kind of kills the whole thing. And yeah, it's bad.
Absolutely. Yeah. I've been listening to Richard for a long time, and I still do. And I understand that he's joking. Like, he's got he's tongue firmly planted in cheek on 99% of his stuff. And if he talks about his life, if you hear the guy, he's like really the farthest thing from a racist. If you know about like who he's married, some of his kids are mixed race. So like that shit, it doesn't stick. doesn't matter though, like you just said, and it sucks because I think at one time he was a great voice, and it's not really even his fault. It's just the way things are now. And EVS has kind of taken the reins on Comicsgate, and he's taken it to other levels. Some of the old Comicsgaters are mad now. There's actually a division in the Comicsgate community. And a lot of the old guys are out because they think EBS was just a sellout, which is not true. It evolved into something else. So
wait,
it's kind of
are you saying that a community got divided on the internet?
It's so weird.
Like Captain Cummings is kind of on the outs from everybody, and he started the ball rolling.
Yep.
And everybody pretty much admits it, but Ethan, I imagine if I met Ethan Van Sciver in person, he'd be a very nice guy. I would enjoy his company. But I think he's one of those people that if you worked with him day in and day out, he would be that guy who's nice, but also kind of an asshole. And over time, it would build up, and you'd be frustrated being around him.
Wears on people. Yeah. There's definitely people out there I'd hang out with and not work with.
And then Ruin Johnson tweets about you.
Yeah. Well, it's because Ethan
and boosts your viewership because Ruin Johnson is the one that people hate and they don't really care about Ethan Van Sciver.
What Ethan's done successfully is, well, for one, he's funny. He's a damn good YouTuber. And he started out as just his channel was going to be him talking about his comic books. And he really kind of stayed away from the Comicsgate thing. Then the Star Wars thing happened purely by accident, and he was a smart man and rolled with it, and then rolled back to the Comicsgate thing and kind of leveled it up. It's weird that he's part of two things that are very connected, though, in a lot of ways. The culture war that we're in, and he did it without personal attacks. Now he's got some rivalries out there, some work rivalries, which you were just referencing, which I'm sure he's got many. I do too. Fuck it.
Yeah, Bernfried Axe Wielder said a famous Austrian comedian once said, "When I have to explain sarcasm to you, then you are just fucking stupid, and I don't want to communicate with you anymore." That's in the chat. So, is there a way to highlight the chat when people say funny stuff like this?
Bernfried is funny too. Axe Wielder. Hey, do we still have hey, Tom? Did I scare you away?
Tom's busy behind the scenes producing.
Tom is producing. Look at him in the chat.
Well, we got some other semi-famous YouTubers out there. I don't want to say that in any condescending way in any way, but they're up and coming. That's a better way of putting it. Sorry, you guys. DJD Show, check your DM. I sent you a link. You can hop on. He found some stuff that he told me about this morning. I want him to come on and tell us about it. That's Star Wars related. And I know there's a few other people like Captain April and stuff like that. So we'll see how it goes with all these people in here, but we may have to do some musical chairs a little bit here, but
oh yeah, I got to bug out pretty soon anyway.
Oh, do you? Oh, okay. I was gonna say, Gary, you stick around, of course, and Mecha as usual. But no, if you got to bug out, that's cool too. But just to give everybody a little time to get to know these guys, I've talked to some of you guys in other ways, like through Patreon chats and whatnot, and I know you guys have got your channels going. So yeah, check your DM real quick, DJD Show, and I'm trying to work on maybe
just to give some more Comicsgate stuff. I just posted a link to Hornet.com stories about John Malin, because he was talking about saying the X-Men are not SJWs, but the Nazis are, which technically I could say, yeah, you're right.
In one aspect, I don't think it was worth him getting completely run out of comics. It was a provocative statement. It was.
Yeah, the Twitter post that he made, it said X-Men are closer to Jews in SJW Hitler's Germany fighting for freedom because they see ideologues rising, silencing them, weaponizing hate, racism, and socialism against the people they claim are the root of social ills. SJWs are not Nazis, but Nazis are SJWs, and X-Men aren't SJWs. Now, actually, the one thing I would have to take issue with, because Hitler and the Nazis weren't actually socialists. They used the word socialist in the name of their party, but it meant something completely different from what actual socialism entails. Because the Nazis had this thing about racial purity, and that's where they kind of warped the meaning of socialism for themselves.
Also, fascists didn't care about economic ideology. They only cared about things that worked and maintained their power. So they were socialist when it benefited them, capitalist when it benefited them, and something else when it benefited them.
Right, because they hated communists. In fact, actually, one of the primary reasons Hitler despised them so much because he figured they were Jews, because he figured Jews were all communists. So it's kind of like this wrapped up in this anti-Semitism and lumping it in with communism, and they just despised it. So every time someone on the far right calls me a Nazi because they think I'm socialist, and then they try to blur the line between the two, it's like, no, actually, kind of look at your history, because it's not really that clear cut as to, because the Nazis' ideology was all over the place, but it was centered around racial purity.
Yep.
I just like it when Tarantino killed Nazis.
That was fun.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had to lighten it up just a little bit.
Well, I like when Captain America used to punch Nazis.
Yeah, he used to punch Nazis in
the face.
So did Harrison Ford.
A lot. But now we have to give them tiki torches and khaki pants and legitimacy.
My.
And arrest Captain America because he punches people like that.
Oh, God.
But actually, I have to wonder, it's like, I'm sure that the Klansmen from 50 years ago would probably be just as pissed off at today's Nazis and Klansmen, because when you're wearing khakis and branding tiki torches, I mean, come on, what kind of self-respecting I mean, at least there was a reason why the Klansmen of old wore hoods. It's because they wanted to hide who they were. But these guys, it's like, guys, you do realize there's a reason why you want to hide, because no one wants to see your horrible dress sense.
Right. Tim Augustine says that you're on deck, Mecha Random, because Rob hasn't showed up yet. You got to sing that song. So
I don't know the song. What song?
They're going to force Mecha Random to sing.
That light song
he has
he has on
lovely
his, I
singing
can't
voice.
remember the hell the name of it is.
I might not know it.
Pilot Light.
Pilot Light. Oh, good. Well, actually, you know what? On my channel, there's an Iron Maiden video I put up. You can actually sing to that. Yeah, seriously, that thing's got well over 1 million views, and it's like,
We need a musical break from
it still gets comments today.
Can Gary sing? I know we heard a little bit, but not much.
No, not on your channel. I don't want to lose you any subscribers.
Yeah, I don't want to get strike.
Maybe later when I've warmed up. Oh God, no. Oh God, no.
Take a few swigs. No, just kidding. I know you can't.
I'm waiting for Marvel Zombies to be resurrected so that they can resurrect Warren Zevon and have him do a musical number.
Warren Zevon.
Werewolves of London.
Right.
Ever heard his version of the High Life? That's a good version. I love that.
Yeah, or they can bring back Roland the Headless Thompson Gun, or get the permission from his estate to make a whole comic book about that.
You guys know the story about Werewolf in London, or an American Werewolf in London? They wanted to use the Warren Zevon song.
I think I heard before, yeah,
he wouldn't let him use it because werewolves were real.
Oh God!
They wanted to use the size. John Landis has been telling that story forever. I don't know if it's true, but Warren Zevon.
It ought to be.
Oh my God! You ever? You guys?
Okay, Sebastian Simonson said the internet is for porn. Well,
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes. But
I mean,
Yeah.
like, there's other things to do. I mean, that's.
What do you got to do the other, 24 hours of the day, or 23 hours and 45 minutes of the day? That's what I meant to say. But anyway, what were you saying, Gary?
Oh, I was just gonna say to my fellow YouTubers, don't you love it when you're just sitting there and like your notifications come up and you just get a comment and like, guys, somebody just ripping you to shreds. Like, you don't have a fucking clue what you're talking about. You're a complete idiot. That's how it starts out. Yeah, I love those.
Those usually make me laugh.
They do. Somebody on our
can you
tardigrade
Cookie Monster singing "T is for Teabag"?
Oh, if it's on the tardigrade lawsuit, then most likely it's.
Oh yeah, what's going on with the tardigrade lawsuit?
I reached out to Anas. He told me a few things that I can't really share right now. All he really said that he could share is, and that's interesting you brought that up, Gary, was look out for the trolls. They are out there. He's been getting a lot of threats. And as he reported in the past, he believes he was hacked into. Even a few of us have reason to believe there may have been some shenanigans on others' parts, but we're not going to point any fingers or say that there was for sure. But yeah, things are heating up. That's all I'm going
Mary,
to say.
thanks for subscribing.
Hey, you're welcome. Of course. Larry, where's your channel?
I actually co-host with
he's
Mike.
a co-host with Mike. Yeah.
Okay.
And
Yeah,
I haven't quite gotten to the point where I'm doing my own channel yet, but I am going to, once I get my copy of Jawbreakers, Lost Souls, and Iron Sights. I'm probably going to do a cell phone video on my car and cough as I review it.
Do it. Oh, you have to. You have to.
But Larry, this is the first time I've actually really had much of a chance to talk to you since you were on. We got some good comments when you were on by yourself that time Mike couldn't make it.
Oh, right on.
I just wanted to let you know that.
Right on.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm working on another side project podcast with a friend of mine who does a lot of extreme, weird, libertarian and anarch-capitalist kind of podcast stuff. I'm bringing him over into the pop culture podcast world. So he diversifies his talent pool, and he has something to do when he's not talking about extremely niche internet drama.
Niche internet drama. Kind of live for that shit a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, he's not into like a blood sport kind of drama thing or a, Mr. Medicare, like, here's some weird stuff furries did kind of thing.
Which is a day that ends in Y. But, yeah. But yeah, this comment is like, whoo, 2 paragraphs. I like it when they write 2 paragraphs. I got to respond to that later. Sorry, I got distracted by that. I should probably bounce. So you can bring the DJD show in.
Yeah, I think he's supposed to be popping in. I don't know if he got the message or not. So if you're listening, DJD, I know you were in the chat there just a little bit ago. I sent you a DM. Come on in so you can tell us what you found this morning. That was pretty interesting. So
yeah, and I was looking at Captain April's too. I can't find him in my followers because I have like 1 million followers to
Gary,
sift through.
thank you. Yeah, Gary, thank you for your time though. It's always a blast with you. So
I wish I could stay in longer, but I want to hear other people. I'll be in the chat. Thank you, Random, and I'll be on later. And I'll.
Oh, there's DJ.
Hello there. Yes.
DJD
okay,
show.
so what do you want to know exactly?
Well, just kind of break down what you found this morning, and before you do that, I just want to say thanks again. If you want to pop back in, the door's open. So
right on, man. Have fun, guys. I'll be listening.
All right, and this is Star Wars related. Yeah, peace out, man.
Oh, I thought you wanted the Comicsgate related stuff.
Well, that you can say too. I don't care either way. Both of them.
Okay, well, the Star Wars related one is rumor and speculation, and like I said, I'd have to find the tweets again.
Okay, well, just give us the Comicsgate stuff.
Okay, the Comicsgate stuff I can give you for sure. Okay, so pretty much concerning at least the thing with diversity in comics and his lawsuit with Mr. Wade, it's like pretty much what happened was he's trying to put his comic book out. And then you've already read that it was going to happen where it was going to come out. No problem. And then they, after the fact, now this is, I know that not the best place to get it from. This is the other side saying this, though. This is not diversity in comics saying it. They manufactured, supposedly, this is speculation, right? These group of words stating that he wasn't, he kept saying, oh, it's going to come out soon. It's going to come out soon. This is, I believe, when it's on Kickstarter, right? And it never quite came out. Then all of a sudden it's on Indiegogo.
Oh, yeah, this one, this whole deal, because somebody was manipulating the Kickstarter release.
Yeah, something
allegedly.
Like that. Allegedly, yes. We have to be very careful because, yes, don't feel like getting sued by.
Allegedly, in my opinion.
Exactly. Disclaimer, etc. I don't feel like Marvel Comics or Disney coming after me for saying these statements, right? Or Mark Waid or anybody. So pretty much, allegedly, Mark Waid starts bothering people around the sides. And while all this is going on, Richard has evidence of all this. Supposedly, Richard has evidence of everything they're doing to him, and ends up culminating in what happens in the Bleeding Cool article, where they go into, they explain all that. But in the background, allegedly, Richard went through a lot of harassment. It wasn't just. It was not just, oh, Mark Waid's getting harassed. Oh, Richard went through a lot of harassment, and it's not just him. A lot of other people in Comicsgate have been harassed over time, and you can see them. It's all on Twitter. It's not like you're missing out on it. It's right there, and it's constant, and it does not stop. So, I mean, do you think they're just going to take it over and over again? I don't think so. At some point, they're going to be like, okay, we're tired of it. So, and especially when it costs someone putting their book out, right? So, pretty much Richard just got sick and tired of it. And now in the background, for those that are, hanging out with Comicsgate constantly, like me with Mike S. Miller and a bunch of other fun individuals, he's an artist in Comicsgate. Pretty much you hear this stuff. Now, in association with this, the thing you mentioned earlier, it's John Malin also is important to this story. Now, John Malin, what happens here is the background thing you kind of heard of. Oh, someone may have had some fun with someone over a desk. Someone might have been bent over a desk. I don't know. Maybe they were getting some paperwork and someone else might have been in the room. Now, allegedly, the audio recording concerning this subject, John Malin plays for us one day in video is on a video live stream. I'm going to try to find the audio on this subject matter. Now, during this thing, they can't say they went over this 3 or 4 times. The people who put this audio out, and they did it in a riff tracks fashion, so a bit of a joke, right? Because they had to, so no one would get sued. Right now, this comes. I'm trying to remember the name of the individual who this comes to light later. That indeed they were faking who they were, so they could do some work. I believe. God, I forgot the name of the individual. Any case,
allegedly, there were some allegations that were alleged to have been allegated.
Yeah, exactly. That pretty much this individual allegedly was faking that he was Asian in order to get work. He faked he was an Asian human being.
Like C.B. Cebulski just happened to use a
I cannot say certain things because I do not want to have to testify in court.
No.
I'm not joking here.
Well, what's even better is you said an Asian human being as opposed to...
Again, I have to be careful here because since I heard the audio, I can't... Okay, I'm stupid for even saying that.
Well, I think C.B. admitted to it, so you could say that. C.B. Cebulski admitted to using a Japanese pen name at one point.
Yes, but there's more to the story, and that's where the audio comes into play. Now, I'm going to try to find the link to the audio.
You can
hear it also concerning this subject matter, and it goes into great detail. It's more than the story that's in any newspaper. Let's just say that. And John Malin, while this is going on in the live stream, I hope he's taking the live stream down by now so he doesn't get sued. But again, allegedly, these are fictional characters. Sure. It goes into great detail into the activities that were going on while this was happening. The very, let's just say, interesting activities that could get people in some severe trouble. So, yeah, that audio still exists. I'll try to find a link for it.
Yeah, while you're doing that, they're asking me in chat, like, why are you not jumping on this? Well, I'm kind of doing guest coordination right now, and we were trying to get Captain April in for the Comicsgate and
allegedly,
stuff as well.
These allegations, which are alleged to have been allegated, allegedly.
Yeah, pretty much. So it was
cannot be allegedly confirmed.
Yeah, but what I find fascinating is how your boy Zach has a network of people in all the big companies.
Yeah.
So all these people who were doing him dirty and doing all the Comicsgate people dirty, there's someone in every one of those conversations who is telling the Comicsgate people exactly what is happening.
Yeah, it's funny like that. Well, because they know they can't be touched to an extent. I mean, they're secure. It's not, they're like, well, nothing's going to happen to us, so we've got a secure job with whatever corporation we're with, and they're on the outside, and they're not going to do anything to us because they're in. As it was spoken about the other day
Mecha,
during a live stream.
Just a warning. Sebastian is saying, "Don't lie. You are watch lizard hentai." He's been busted.
No, not lizard. It has to be Cthulhu.
Oh, I've seen the lizard.
Oh, tentacle
stuff
hentai. Okay. Wait, what hentai isn't tentacle?
There's quite a lot of it actually. I think it's just a small subset of hentai.
Hentai is so broad that it now has its own subgenre.
Oh yeah.
I think hentai is just a Japanese word for perverts.
Yeah.
So you're basically saying, okay, it's pervert stuff. All right.
Yeah.
Well, but just to kind of change the subject off the allegations of Comicsgate. Let's move on to the allegations at CBS because CBS is getting subpoenaed in New York regarding the alleged sexual misconduct by Les Moonves that caused him to step down from CBS, sans his severance package. And this, according to Deadline.com, state and county prosecutors in New York have launched investigations into alleged sexual misconduct by CBS former chairman and CEO Les Moonves, as well as at CBS News, the company disclosed in a regulatory filing. CBS said it has received subpoenas from the New York County District Attorney's Office and the New York City Commission on Human Rights regarding allegations made by a dozen women. The New York State Attorney General's office has also requested information about these matters, the company said. In an SEC filing, the media company confirmed it is cooperating with the investigations and noted the August 1st start of investigations by two law firms into conduct by Moonves and executives at CBS. When contacted by Deadline, a spokesperson declined further comment on the subpoenas. So, yeah, but if you want to read more at Deadline, but yeah, this is something that isn't going away at all. So I'm wondering, how much do you think this is going to affect Les Moonves' severance package? Because so far it's on hold.
A lot.
The outcome of the investigation, but at this point, it's like, dude, come on. Just give it up already.
I hope it does affect him a lot because with all of the crap that we've had to deal with as Star Trek fans for Discovery, I kind of want vengeance. Not even, and between that and being like somebody who has to side with, he's kind of an asshole. And
well, now that Moonves is out the door, can we bring back Linda Bloodworth Thompson and have her make some shows for CBS again? Because I want something watchable.
Yeah. Something good. Just give us good Star Trek.
Now, I don't know if anybody out there in the chat's a little bit more knowledgeable about the legalese of these things, but now when you do look like a contract like this where there would be some kind of severance package or whatever, I don't know if you have to actually be convicted or if it just charges have to be brought about or
basically
like that. As far as I'm sure there's some kind of out clause. Yeah,
right. Basically, under the terms of the contract, if he is fired for cause, then he doesn't get a severance package. But if he leaves, on his own, and there's no, basically, if he hadn't basically been forced to resign because of these allegations, then he wouldn't have had to worry. He would have gotten his full $200 million severance pay. But since he did have to step down for cause, because it's looking pretty bad at this point that he is guilty of sin, then they can basically say, well, nope, we had reason to get rid of you, so you're not getting anything.
Right. We still have to keep saying allegedly.
Last report was that the severance package is on hold, basically, pending the final outcome of the investigation that CBS is doing. And also out of his own pocket, and CBS went about $20 million to organizations that support women. So this is yet another development in the CBS and Les Moonves drama, because now that Moonves is out, I think we're going to have to start looking at who's coming in to replace him and what they might do with regards to STD, because they're already running way over budget filming season 2. So either they're going to have to really start getting stingy on the episodes for the rest of the season, or they're going to have to try and maybe shorten the season because they don't have enough money to make it.
Or get some outside funding, yeah. DJD Show, what do you think about Star Trek Discovery and Les Moonves and all that stuff?
Well, pretty much the second they cancel STD, I'll be happy. I know some friends of mine, for some inexplicable reason, really love those costumes, but I'm like, I think for the good of everyone, they should cancel the show because I don't really see them turning it around.
By a video game developer for copyright infringement, not even 2 years after you sued the pants off of an independent
exactly
fan film.
So YouTube lawyer extraordinaire Nick Rekieta is trying to get a hold of John Malin to ask him about something. So maybe that tape is gonna be brought into some of the legal YouTube shenanigans now.
Well,
I would love for someone to bring Alec Peters on board to talk about the tardigrades lawsuit,
we were all talking about it.
That would just be the most awesome thing.
Sorry, you were saying, DJ?
No, I'm just linking you the audio. But yeah,
be
careful with the audio. Do not broadcast it, even though it is again the names and faces have been changed to protect the guilty. I mean innocent, but still
the guilty innocent.
The guilty
or the innocent guilty.
Yes,
the
he had. If you see the detail of it, he had to change it a couple of times to really be careful not to get in trouble for what is said in that audio. But yeah, if you want more,
that's something we can share in the chat. We can share that in the chat if you want.
I wouldn't. I don't want you guys getting sued. So at least with that audio. Okay. Like I said, you never know with the powers that be.
Lancaster says Mikey spots should be cooked and used to make May food for poor Kelpian children.
I mean, the article. I think the article's safe, but the audio is the one that I know we were real careful about it when we were talking about it on the live stream. So. And then John Malin again.
We don't really get into a lot of that here, so that's where I was kind of just like,
yeah, exactly.
You guys go on about it.
Says, hey, we already got a theme song. It's time for Mecha Maniacs. And we're zany to the max.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's why I chose that one.
There's baloney in our slacks. We're Mecha Maniacs.
Oh man, yeah. Oh, John Malin will be brought in on this probably because he was involved in, well, to an extent, some of the color that happened around that time period. At least if my understanding was correct.
Yeah, Larry and I were trying to get an interview with him about his comic book graphic novel that he raised money on Indiegogo is for Graveyard Shift.
Our schedules weren't able to link up.
Yeah, so, but yeah, I would not mind getting him on board to talk about that and also maybe expand on some of his SJW remarks because it does seem like he's got some good points, but the way he expresses them, I can kind of see why people might misinterpret them.
He's actually quite level-headed and loves nachos and tacos.
Also,
so make sure to ask him about the nachos and tacos.
Also,
I like chalupas.
I'm very interested in his relationship with Rob Liefeld. Because I'm really curious, how much he's talked to Rob about his current phase of his career. Because in a lot of ways, this is kind of like what the Image guys did back in the day. When they went to Marvel and said, yeah, we're quitting. And they went to DC, hey guys, thank you for taking this meeting. We're just coming here to tell you we're not going to go to work for you either.
It's kind of been like that, at least if you've been hanging out with them. I don't know, I've been hanging out with them a couple of months. It's been fun, to say the least, on and off. And yes, it does feel like when Image did what they did. Very similar. At least if you've seen the documentary considering Image Comics, when they were going through what they were going through. These guys seem to be quite organized in how they're doing things so far. Just hopefully they deliver on all their promises and the books they're putting out. So far, so good. I got Nasser's book the other day.
I'm still waiting for Nasser's to get to me and for Iron Sights. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know whether it's
a hot take on them.
Yeah, I don't know whether they mailed them out in the order you did the Indiegogo or if they did
I don't know either. No clue. I just know they'll be getting to us at some point.
Yeah, Zach's been breaking down on his channel, all the things like, I bought a stamp maker today.
Yeah, I've seen it. It's like, I went to the mailbox. Look at this fascinating mailbox. Isn't it?
Yeah.
Intricate and detailed. Look at the architecture of this building where there are mailboxes in it.
I totally found a way for the post office to give me reduced rate of postage. This is going to save on all future campaigns.
Yeah, I remember that episode. Yeah, fun times had by all.
And like I was saying about Ethan Van Sciver, I know tons of people like Zach.
Yeah,
and I even to the point of guys who said things that they knew they shouldn't have said, and in hindsight realized, man, I really shot myself in the foot by saying that stuff.
Yeah, Zach, I don't know so much. The rest I do. Zach, I haven't. Again, Zach is just what I see from looking at the show. The other ones I've somewhat interacted with almost all of them, or hanged out in a strange way on the internet. As for EVS, the only thing I disputed you in the chat earlier was the fact that you thought, oh, he's a bit of a tough guy bully. No, actually, he's a complete marshmallow pushover.
Well, no, that's not what I mean.
So,
I mean, like,
I get you.
No, but I mean, like this guy in your office who he always just says things just a little on edge, and after working with him for a year, 2 years, you're like, going, man, that guy's an insufferable prick. I think that's what most of his problems. I'm not saying.
Are we talking Dwight from The
Yes.
Office prick, or are we talking?
No. I mean, I'm saying I think that's what all of his work-related problems with the SJW talent is that. Like,
from my understanding with Ethan Van Sciver, it's not like that.
No. I'm saying that's how they're taking it.
Well, that's what they're saying, but that doesn't mean it's the truth.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
No, I understand what you're saying. But
my interactions with him for several months, he seems the reverse of that. If anything, he's the kind of mellow
but the thing
pushover.
Is, we're more like him.
He's annoying, though. I'm not going to joke there. Ethan
no.
Van Sciver is definitely annoying. If you mean that, he can annoy you.
No, that's what I mean.
I'm joking, EVS. Please don't kill me or send Pi to kill me either.
Well, that's how you butter him up.
Yes, well, he loves the butter. Yes,
he loves butter and pie.
And pie, yes.
So you get him a hot apple pie with a big stick of Irish butter.
Yes. Yeah.
And then he dies of a heart attack from cholesterol.
Well, I've only talked to him in chats, but I know Mecha, you've been on.
No, I haven't been on with Ethan. Actually, I've been on with Jeremy. That's the only one I've been on.
I've bantered back and forth with Ethan through super chats and through Twitter. I mean,
I think
Ethan.
DJ, you've talked to him though, haven't you?
Yeah, same way that he just described it, through super chats, through Twitter, through.
And again, like I said.
Oh, yeah, I've talked to him on Twitter a couple times.
But no, I haven't been on his show yet. No.
Yeah, he's more my kind of people. He's our kind of people, but I could totally understand how a Gail Simone would get pissed off after working around him for a year or two.
Oh,
but
yes,
he's very sarcastic.
Yes,
yeah.
Yes,
and he has his moments of passive aggression mixed in with sarcasm.
Yes, that is accurate.
Totally get how if you had to work with him on a regular basis, you would be like, I fucking hate that guy.
If you meant it that way, as in he'll annoy you to death, yes, I can understand that one.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. Like I said,
okay, cool.
If I go to a convention and I see Ethan, I would buy him booze, but he actually said, no, you're a fan, I'll buy you a drink.
Yeah, he seems like the type who would do that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Like I said, he's been very nice to me every time I've spoken to him or asked him questions that I thought might annoy the living out of him, but he answered the question. So
Just don't invite Lindsay Lohan, because she will get drunk and try and kidnap kids, thinking that.
Or Rose Tico. See, Rose Tico and Ethan Van Sciver in the same place might get out of control. I'm just saying.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because Lindsay Lohan is again crying desperately out for help, and people are just piling on her because apparently last night Lindsay Lohan began live streaming on Instagram. She approached a homeless family and offered to help the kids out, and apparently they didn't understand her, so they went to move, and she started going after them, thinking that they were trying to traffic the children, and the mother punched her in the face, and she was also speaking in a foreign accent for some reason.
Hasn't she been trying to convert to Islam?
I don't know, but she was live streaming from Moscow, Russia. So I don't know. Maybe she's a Russian agent on behalf of Trump.
God, really?
I mean, Moscow.
We thought we had heard everything we were going to hear about Lindsay Lohan.
But yeah, it's just. I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't want to bring politics into this, but it's just kind of watching Lindsay Lohan self-destruct even further than she has.
Yeah, no, but Lindsay Lohan actually has been putting a lot of things that imply she's converting. She's also been dressing in Islamic garb on her Instagram as well. So it could be she's trying to speak like Arabic accent, which would be weird. But this is Lindsay Lohan we're talking about.
Yeah.
Are we surprised by any of this?
And apparently on the video she could be heard saying, "Hey kids, you're ruining Arab culture by doing this." And
what?
The least surprising thing of the whole thing is that somebody else didn't punch her first.
Right. Well, like I said, I mean, Lindsay Lohan's always had. She's had mental problems since she was a kid, and unfortunately, Hollywood really didn't do much except to kind of aggravate a lot of it and kind of indulge her partying. So
that's very.
So
although in other news, The Nun, according to Bloody Disgusting, is the highest grossing movie in the Conjuring universe.
Yeah, I seen that. Yeah.
I don't get the Conjuring universe. I just don't.
I'm not a huge fan. I haven't really seen them. I seen Annabelle. That was it.
Yeah, I saw Insidious. Didn't care much for it. I don't know why it's such a thing, but yeah, But yeah, I actually had seen Hereditary, which, as far as I know, is not in the Conjuring universe. But I thought it was pretty good. It was kind of a slow burner, but if you're not expecting more than you should from it, I think you'll enjoy it. But yeah, with The Nun, it's like it could land somewhere between the $340 million and $350 million range by the end of its full theatrical run. So, and it's ended the box office run with the $319 million worldwide. And that was The Conjuring back in 2013. So I'm sorry, but and then the 2016 sequel hit $320 million. So, and then Annabelle pulled in $257 million worldwide, and Annabelle Creation made $306 million. So yeah, I mean, this stuff is really doing pretty well.
Oh yeah, Andre's brought it up a few times as the whatever you want to call it, Conjuring series or whatever, is the only other series besides Marvel that's really knocking it out the park. And nobody's really noticing though. But
what about the Tyler Perry cinematic universe?
Is there one?
Yes,
well, I mean, all the Medea movies are they're part of a broad cinematic universe.
Amazing, to say the least. I mean,
they could introduce Tyler Perry into the.
Sorry.
No, what they could do is they can introduce Tyler Perry into the Conjuring universe.
Or here's a better idea: what if we get the Trapped in the Closet universe to cross over with the Tyler Perry universe?
Trapped in the Closet. Speaking of horror franchises, though, did anybody else hear about the whole Victor Miller situation with Friday the 13th? He won the case.
You're kidding.
So, no, I'm not kidding. So this is
I hadn't heard that yet.
Matter.
I was just looking at the Friday 13th franchise the other day with the comic book thing.
Yeah, Hollywood Reporter. From a couple days ago. Miller won the rights battle against the producer. This is according to Hollywood Reporter, in a big decision that will bolster the prospects of authors who hope to recapture rights from producers. Friday the 13th screenwriter Victor Miller has prevailed in a legal battle over the franchise. Producers of the cult 1980 horror film, including companies associated with Sean Cunningham, filed suit more than a year ago after Miller aimed to take advantage of a provision of copyright law that allows authors to terminate a grant of rights and reclaim ownership 35 years after publishing. The producers allege that Miller wrote Friday the 13th as a work made for hire after Cunningham came up with an idea to capitalize on the success of the then recently released horror film Halloween. They asserted that his termination notice was ineffective. Nearly 40 years ago, as a screenplay was written about Camp Crystal Lake, opens a 62-page summary judgment opinion from U.S. District Court Judge Stephen Underhill. The film created from the screenplay went on to significant commercial success. Lurking below that peaceful service, however, was a Copyright Act's termination right, waiting for just the right moment when it would emerge and wreak havoc on the rights to the screenplay. So Miller basically argued that his screenplay was not a work made for hire, and therefore under copyright law means that the producers authored the work and it wasn't eligible for termination. And of course, the courts have ruled in that favor. Now, I'm not reading anything yet as to whether the studio will appeal this, but yeah, if you go to HollywoodReporter.com, in fact, let me post a link real quick here.
I would think they'd appeal it because it's isn't that what was holding up the video game, if I remember
right?
That's part of it.
Yeah. And one of the things, I was a huge player of the video game, and I had quite a good following on YouTube for it. But one of the things that really killed the game was the lack of well, the lack of the content coming in with, like, towards the end, it kind of kept getting like a resurgence every now and then. But once we kind of realized, oh, we're not going to get Uber Jason, we're not going to get, much more as far as content goes, then it kind of was the last sort of nail in the coffin of the game.
Mm-hmm. From what I heard, it was a lot to do more so that the guys, it wasn't like this was any kind of surprise, from what I've heard. And I know some people have done videos about it out there, and I know we're going to integrate it into our follow-up Friday the 13th video now that this has kind of happened. This is odd that it was like a year ago we dropped that video, so now it's going to be about a year to the date probably that we do this video. But yeah, basically now the rights are they knew that this was coming up. They knew they only had a certain date to do this all by, but they didn't take advantage of that because they knew this rights issue was happening and they were told about it. And they played it off like they didn't know it was coming when they did. And instead of finishing what they promised people, they integrated some fucking, I don't know, it was a framework system or something into the game that didn't work right anyway, just so they could secure themselves a future job with some other company. And that was all they were worried about. It is a short version. I have to get the exacts on it. If any of you guys know the story a little better, please tell it. But yeah, basically it's like, sounds to me like the customers are the ones getting screwed over and the people who funded them are getting screwed over. And I know some people who actually were involved with the funding and they're pretty pissed.
Well, there were people that were involved, even from my team, to an extent, from the beginning, just asking questions on Reddit and other locations. And they were like, this is a bit weird. And I know by the end, they were like, we're not going to put much into it because it was just the way they were doing it was, say, a Kickstarter to an extent, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it just felt a bit off, all the promises they were giving.
Yeah.
And I mean, really, they were promising some amazing stuff. And I was like, how can you pull this off? Right? Was our thought process. And then you go and you see the beginning of the game in the first couple of months and how that's going. And you're like, well, it was buggy. There's no way around it.
Oh,
it was
yeah.
definitely a buggy game.
Yeah.
Kind of like all the Legacy of Kain games.
Disclaimer. Okay. So pretty much it was a buggy game.
It's kind of like all the Legacy of Kain games that you've been waiting for a direct sequel to the Defiance entry that came out in 2003. And they keep promising you, oh yeah, we'll do this. Oh no, it's just a fighting game that uses elements. Oh no, we're doing Dark Sun.
Hey man, we just want to. You meant Dark Souls.
Dark Souls, yeah, but it's like, but yeah, it's, but it's like not even close to being related, except in name only. So it's like because it doesn't have Kain, it doesn't have Raziel, it doesn't have any of the characters associated with the original series. So why are you even doing this? I mean, the cinematics look great, but it just there's nothing.
Yeah, exactly. It looked okay. Yeah. Like I said, it was buggy. It was an interesting feel on how things happened. I mean, some of our bug suggestions were actually taken into account by the developers. If not, it would have been so much worse. Oh, you think it was bad when it came out? The beta phase. Oh, yeah.
I remember watching some of the beta. Absolutely.
Yeah, they actually listened so that Jason, the stupidest things that he couldn't kill someone because of, like the window trick, right?
Yes.
The window trick. I mean, if you played it, knows what I'm talking about. And
the window's supposed to break and it doesn't, and he can't kill you through the window.
No. So. People would jump in and out of the window, and then Jason couldn't kill the person.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
but he can follow you through the window. He can break through the wall. I mean, speaking of bugs, there is a bug in the ruling in Miller's favor because Underhill, who's a judge, says I decline to analyze the extent to which Miller can claim copyright in the monstrous Jason figure present in sequels to the original film. Horror may very well be able to argue that the Jason character present in later films is distinct from the Jason character briefly present in the first film.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's something we brought up before too. And
so
we're going to get into this on the horror
Jason,
podcast,
but not the actual Friday the 13th.
Right. What they won't be able to do then is use anything that was established in the first film. And that would be...
Well, it's not like they've really been doing that anyway. So.
To an extent. Well, the last remake was a remake of the original first 4 films, I guess. But basically, from here on out, Jason can't have any connection with his mother. I question if he can have any connection with Crystal Lake. I don't know how much you're going to be able to refer to his backstory.
I question whether he can have any connection to his machete because it's getting boring. Get a chainsaw.
but then he's crossing the Leatherface.
Get a chainsaw. Wear some overalls. Only come out on Arbor Day.
Well, then that would be
the other question. Then the other thing brought in question then would be the Friday the 13th title itself.
Yeah, that.
And I don't think that Miller would be able to claim that because I think that was something that Cunningham can prove that
Jason goes to school.
Well, they'll be able to just use Jason. Like, well, that's what New Line ran into, and that's what actually got the rights back. Was they never had the rights to the Friday the 13th title?
Exactly. Sorry.
Yeah. No. Go ahead, DJD.
Okay. If you remember, back in time, age past, Friday 13th TV series.
We have actually
had nothing to do with the freaking
nothing to do with these movies, right?
Exactly.
It's just basically the studio deciding, well, we got to use a name, but we can't have anything to do with the actual Jason
producers. That was the only connection, really.
Right.
So about studio cash grabs, how do we all feel for a PG-13 Deadpool movie?
We brought that up a little bit earlier, but we didn't really talk too much about it. But we're going to definitely
having a PG-13 Deadpool movie is kind of like having a PG-13 Porky's
movie.
Having a PG-13 or Revenge of the Nerds and having that be PG-13. You can't do it.
I had an ex-girlfriend flip the fuck out on me once because I had the movie Porky's. It was
what? Well, that's why she's an ex, right?
Well, that's clearly porn, Porky's. No, it's a comedy.
So you don't look at my fucking underwear drawer, bitch.
Porky's Roberts, $2. Thank you
so much. No, she says. But anyway, sorry.
But yeah,
definitely brought
why
up
haven't we had a reboot of Porky's?
They're working on it, from what I heard, aren't they? Random.
Really?
I think we were talking about that not too long ago, weren't we?
Yeah, they're going to have to rate it G because they have to cut out everything that made it Porky's.
The reboot of Porky's, I think they were working on it, or they were trying to work on a reboot of Porky's, but
I don't see that.
Except, they have to be politically correct now. So instead of Porky's,
no, I'm not kidding you, Mary.
It's not a joke. They've been talking about it on and off for a couple of years now, but they never can pull it off because the atmosphere.
Look, it's going to be everything you love about Porky's, but it's also going to be family friendly.
Okay, here's my take on what's going to be. This is exactly what it's going to be. Now, remember, the original Porky's took place in the 50s or early 60s, one of the two. I can't remember now. Either late 50s or early 60s. So this new one's going to end up taking place in the 80s. You watch. And otherwise, it's going to take out anything that's remotely going to offend anybody. And I think you guys are right. It's going to wind up being a PG-13, as raunchy as you can be in PG-13.
It's going to be American Pie.
American Pie.
They can't even do American Pie.
Or it'll be like Revenge of the Nerds and Next Generation.
Oh,
you had to talk about that, didn't you?
Yes, it'll be like one of
that's
those
just
where
wrong,
they're a little bit more.
You went low there. That's just low.
I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised. But speaking of nerds, this is why the Revenge of the Nerds remake never got off the ground either. You just can't anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Even if they tried to do another Police Academy, it would be more like the sequels than it would be the original. Most people forget how raunchy the original was.
Oh yeah, they were just watching girls in the shower. You had the blowjob scene in the podium. I mean, you had.
That's the best part though, because Mahoney's just sitting there watching them. They ain't doing a thing. And as soon as fucking G.W. Bailey starts, he starts screaming and shit. I love that. I'm sorry, Mecha and I love Police Academy. We don't apologize for it.
And Revenge of the Nerds.
And Porky's. And even the sequels aren't that bad for most of them, so we're not going to complain too much, Kind of 80s movies. We don't
Porky's
apologize.
Academy, Revenge of the...
Oh, they're remaking Police Academy too. I forgot about that abortion that's going to be coming out soon.
There's been talks about that.
I don't think they're going to actually get that one off the ground. I think that's just in talks.
So do you believe that's one of those things that it's a fake news story until we actually start to see?
I think Key and Peele were the last round of people who were involved with it, and I don't know what their take was going to be on it necessarily. But
Jordan Peele's probably going to be pretty busy for a while.
Yeah, or at least it was either at least one of them, if not. But no, I don't see. I don't see a problem if you don't make it a reboot. If you make it a sequel, you have a lot of the older Police Academy stars who are still around, make cameos or at least be part of the movie. Like I've even said, you could have Mahoney be the
on this
commandant.
planet anymore? Because I haven't heard
or G.W. Bailey is the commandant. I meant, but then yeah. But anyway, you're saying sorry, Mike.
Yeah, it's like, is Steve Gutenberg even on this planet still? I think he might have gone to the same. I think he might have gone to the. I think he went to the Cocoon Planet or something. I haven't heard anything.
Hey, you know what?
What's he been in?
A couple of years ago, he did the Lavalantula movie, which is kind of they would put that on right after Sharknado. So I think
he's done a lot of little.
Okay, so if he's reduced to doing sci-fi movie projects, then that's pretty much the end of his career. Pretty much
no, I don't
Ian
see why
Ziering
you
will
can't
never ever get anything outside of CV Channel because I mean once you've done Sharknado, your career is over.
But you still got Gutenberg, you still got G.W. Bailey, you could still bring in Proctor, you could still bring in Leslie Easterbrook,
Marion Ramsey, Michael Winslow.
You know what? You could actually bring in LeBron James to do like the Hightower role.
He could be Junior. No, he could be his son though, or somebody like that. You know, you don't have to necessarily.
I mean, look, they're going to be loading us up as soon as LeBron moves to Los Angeles with LeBron James side project movies to slowly build him up to becoming a legit Hollywood star.
It doesn't have to be LeBron James, but I'm not against having a few characters come in as like kids of the gone character, like Tackleberry's kid with the Tackleberry.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you could probably bring back Colleen Camp, though.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, there's a lot of people you can bring back, and that's the best part is you get an opportunity to pay tribute to those who have passed. Because we just lost George Gaines not too long ago too, and I mean. And I could see G.W. Bailey being like the commandant, and you have Mahoney and all them just being.
Well, you have to have Harrison Proctor back together because that was kind of the gold for me. I really love that era.
Yes.
Well, and you just kind of have the same role they were in before, only now G.W. Bailey's the commandant, and of course Mahoney hates that.
Yeah.
But it's not like and Bobcat. If you give Bobcat enough money, he might show up.
You could have something where Mahoney's like the captain of a precinct somewhere, and he finds out, and he's kind of in the same situation where he was in the first movie, where he's having to deal with a bunch of young fuck ups, and he has to go and send them to Harris's police academy, and then he ends up going in.
Young comedians together, it could work.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And who do we have that could do it? Like maybe like a Hannibal Buress type of guy, or a
because Hannibal Buress is not he's the right strike zone for that kind of movie.
Yeah, like those type of comedians.
You know what would be a great movie, a great reboot to do? So they had an idea for a sequel series to Sledgehammer called The Sledge Squad, where Sledgehammer for some reason gets promoted to captain of his own police station.
Oh God, David Rasche! Bring him back.
Yeah, you have him be the captain and have like a normal police procedural show.
I thought I was the only one who remembered that show, Larry.
Oh God, no! I loved that show as a kid so much. But yeah, so he's the captain of the police station, and it's like the normal police procedural, but to subvert expectations, like they can't solve the crime, and so Sledge goes out and shoots a bunch of people, then solves the crime. That could be a really great show. That could totally work as a Netflix, Hulu kind of TV series.
Right. Well, I know. I think that the last thing I saw David Rasche in was in Burn After Reading, where he was playing a CIA office agent, and it's like he comes in at the end of the film and talks to God, what's his name? J.K. Simmons, and says, "What have we learned from all this?" And J.K. Simmons says, "Nothing, not a goddamn thing," because everything that went on in that movie is just so out there. But just kind of switch up because
I heard him saying that in J.J. Simmons' voice.
20 days away from
J.K. Simmons as on Spider-Man. Damn it.
Yeah, that was my thought process also.
It's like when you said that, that's the voice I heard it in. Nothing, not a goddamn thing. Give me Spider-Man.
Well, you know what? This kind of segue. It seems David Gordon Green was originally considering a different title for the new Halloween movie that's coming out in 20 days. And because apparently they wanted to avoid some confusion. So alternative titles apparently include The Shape, Halloween Returns, technically it's a third Halloween too. So it kind of got to the point where we were like, well, we don't want to not invite anybody. We don't want someone who's unfamiliar with the previous films to think, well, I need to catch up. So then we just thought for simplicity, let's just call it Halloween. And this is according to EW.com.
Well, and that's true. And I know they do that because the millennials ain't seen 2 through whatever. They ain't keeping up with shit.
Right. And according to Geek,
they can't make breakfast cereal. It's just too difficult.
It is.
Right. And then
Geek, and as Mecha says, this is just shit that's just there so you can look up from your phone. Sorry, Mike.
Yeah, and GeekTyrant.com, Nick Castle reports he told Bloody Disgusting that the revamp film of the original may ruin a great scene from the original cut. I just talked to director John Carpenter about this, and this is about talking about the 4K restoration, which let me post a link in chat here so everyone can follow along.
Which everybody in the home video community is a bit about. Because
it says I just talked to John Carpenter about this, and he said he and the cameraman did a viewing of this restoration. He was impressed with the sharpness. My question would be: there is one scene that director of photography Dean Cundy had a great idea. Near the end, where Michael Myers is in the shadows, he actually dials up the light very, very slowly so that he starts to appear behind Jamie Lee Curtis. It's right before he tries to either stab her or choke her, and I just wonder if that will be seen too early. That's, I guess, my one concern, other than the fact that I'd love to see it in this format. So, yeah, because and this actually kind of goes to something where the people behind Batman the Animated Series and Justice League don't like the 4K restorations because they show all the background stuff that, like all the flubs that they made in animation errors, because you can kind of like get away with a lot of this stuff because you're broadcasting on analog, and so the quality is not going to be all that great. So you're just focusing on the foreground, maybe the middle ground, but you're not paying attention to the background. Well, no, now you've got everything on HD, and you can see, okay, oh wait, there's the Batman Beyond suit in an episode of Justice League, and it's like painted yellow. Why is it there? It's like,
I don't care.
Yeah.
But no, to your point though, I have no issues with. I'm used to seeing the flaws, but something like that, to where, I think what you're saying there is like it was almost too crisp and too clear before you're supposed to, and all that kind of shit. It kind of fucks with the original composition.
Yeah, and that's really kind of what I don't like about this stuff, because honestly, I can watch something like 720p and not have any problem with it. I pull it up to full screen or up on my TV. It's like, okay, I'm fine with that. I'm not noticing any loss of resolution. Why does everything have to be 1080?
Well, 1080 is fine. 1080 is where we should be at. There's nothing wrong with it. And they should have used the technology to push other things farther. 4K is okay, but from what I've seen, I haven't been sold yet. And even though I know people who are in the industry and swear by it and everything like that, I still sit here and go, well, it doesn't really matter though, because most of these movies aren't mastered at anything higher than 2K anyway. And a lot of them say it's more about the UHD or whatever, where it's more about the high highs and the low lows. Well, right here sounds like they fucked up with the low lows because you weren't supposed to see Michael before the light hits him. And and Dean Cundy's one of the premier fucking cinematographers out there now. He's done everything from Jurassic Park to you name it. He's worked on almost every Spielberg, and I think he even was the director of photography on like Back to the Future and shit like that. I mean, this guy is one of the biggest and best there ever was. So I mean, you don't want to fuck with his compositions, and Halloween was one of his first masterpieces, if you ask me, as far as cinematography goes. Because anybody who's seen that movie, it's just beautiful. Look,
the visuals are very nice in that film.
$100,000 and make it look like $300 million.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it is just amazing.
Yep.
Well, I mean, how many people list that as their quintessential movie too for that period in that genre? That's so many people's favorite.
When kids can't, I don't see kids nowadays sitting through Halloween. Don't get me wrong. I'm sure there's plenty of people who would. There's plenty of younger kids who actually do appreciate, the classics. But for the majority general audience, no. Yeah, go ahead, Random.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. A lot of what I hear is that it's very slow. It's got a low body count, and yeah, they just don't have the attention span for it. They don't like it. They don't care about the character development. They don't care about the suspense. They don't care about the world building. They don't care about any of the subtlety and the nuance. And a lot of that's the same with like the music today. They just need it cranked to 11 constantly, or else they lose interest.
Well, they like a lot of distortion in their news. And
yeah.
Also distortion in their music. I had a flub. All right, it happens.
All right. Okay. I'm just reading something interesting also on Geek Tyrant, is that apparently Michael Myers is not going to be supernatural or immortal in the new movie.
That's interesting.
Although that really kind of screws with the original, because in the original, first he gets stabbed in the neck with a sewing needle, then he gets stabbed in the heart with a knife, and then he gets shot 6 times, and he's alive after all that.
He wasn't like Jason, though. I get that. He wasn't. He didn't really. He never really took this leap to this, unstoppable killer where you can do anything to him until like the latter films.
Yeah.
Then they even dialed that back with H2O. But
here's the thing, though. They already kind of established that in the first film, because the things that the kind of wounds that he sustained in that first film, if you go back and actually watch it, that there's no way a normal person would survive any of that.
To a point, yes. But if you look at it from the aspect of like a psychological or physical thing, like I've seen videos of people that are like hopped up on angel dust and they get shot 6-7 times by the cops and they still come charging at them. Yeah. I think that's kind of the whole thing.
But at that point they die, but it's like, it's 40 years later and he's survived all that. So it's like, I mean, because there's, and it kind of stretches disbelief, but you have to also keep in mind, though, in the original Halloween film, Michael Myers wasn't so much a character as a concept, which is why
I think if
the film ended the way it did.
Back to this, if they're saying it in a respect that he's physically not as strong as you would think, in a sense that he is human by the end. You'll see him succumb to whatever it is. That's fine, but I get where you're coming from too, as far as like the mysticism of the shape from the original film, to where where like he gets shot 6 times and Loomis looks down and he's gone. But at that moment, who's to say they didn't find him in an alley 5 minutes later and he got repaired and at the hospital? And that's where this movie picks up, because that's where this movie's supposed to pick up. Halloween 2 never happened. Halloween 4, 5, 6, 7, H2O, whatever, never happened. Because in this respect, I get where you're saying, to where, it could still end that way. And like I said, it'll pick up to where we find out, he was just, crawling in the alleyway dying, and it was whatever. But it's just, to me, that's like the least of the movie's concerns at this point. Yeah. Because like, I love Jamie Lee Curtis, but to hear her say shit like, I only did H2O for the money, this is the real deal. Well, you said the same shit when you did H2O. You said, I didn't do the other ones because, I for my dignity of my career, but I'm doing this because this is the right time to do it. Blah, 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 blah.
You remember how James Cameron was talking about how Terminator Genisys was the next evolution of his original vision, and how it was
Terminator Sega Genesis?
Genisys? Yeah, okay.
No, I like Andres. He calls it Terminator Sega Genesis, and he says it's just like it's nothing. But no, I think there's more to that, because James Cameron's going to make more money if the movies make money, no matter what.
No. James Cameron was playing the waiting game. He was wanting
that too. But if you have, even if it's an executive producer investment in these movies, you're going to make more money if they make more money. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. But I think
he still has his name attached as a creator, and he gets whatever for residuals and stuff. So,
but I still think he was wanting to have a good relationship with these people. So if they failed, they weren't going to try again just to spite him. And I think if he was
that too, but I think there was also a hope that he was going to be coming on board. I think they were playing ball with him earlier on, because I think everybody was under the assumption that he was going to reclaim the rights to the Terminator franchise, because they've been all over the fucking place.
Right. Well, it's been 34 years since the original Terminator.
He gets them back next year.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
exactly.
Yeah. So
and that's why they're making this movie now. It's like almost like they knew it was going to happen, so this is what he's doing. So get ready, folks.
Right. So he's not trying to eliminate 3, 4, and 5 from continuity. Which, honestly, I think at this point you're going to have to almost reboot it from scratch, because. And just kind of disregard those middle 3 movies, because at this point it's like it got so bad from a storytelling standpoint, you can't really take it anywhere else.
Well, the last one was terrible.
You've already destroyed it to the point where, not Matt Smith is reduced to going on to the new Star Wars movie because he's already got jumped from one failing franchise to another, and then that didn't work out, so now he's jumping to another failing franchise.
I didn't even hate Rise of the Machines, and I brought this up before. I love how that movie had a true 60s sci-fi ending. Like, the bad guys won. The good guys aren't going to win, guys. Yeah, you delayed Judgment Day, but it's still happening.
But what I really liked about Rise of the Machines. It actually gave a good explanation for why John Connor became the leader of the Resistance.
Yeah. And not only that, why things got delayed and why, you could change things, but shit's still inevitable kind of thing. I liked that aspect of it.
Right. Well, it kind of like handed in a ham-handed way that the same concept as the original film is like how much is fate set in stone, where Kyle Reese says the future is not set, and yet by the end of the film, the future is pretty much set.
Well, and you can kind of tell no matter which way you go about it, as long as John Connor exists, the war is still going to happen.
Right,
because it would be like a Marty McFly moment where you'd have a paradox.
Because John Connor and Skynet cannot exist without the other.
Exactly. I was going to say, the moment you destroy Skynet, then John Connor would disappear like Marty McFly's picture.
That is actually some of the smart stuff that they had in the Sarah Connor Chronicles. It's a shame they didn't crib more notes from for these movies.
And I love that show, too. And that was one of those that got killed before it should have.
Yeah.
But in fairness to Matt Smith, he was amazing on The Crown playing Philip, Duke of Edinburgh. He was amazing in that role. And
he was wasted in that terrible Robot Chicken parody we just saw of a film.
Yeah.
It's like, not the Terminator Poppy, he's going to kill us all. I saved the day.
And apparently Matt Smith is going to be playing Charles Manson in some movie.
Would that be the Tarantino movie?
Matt Smith?
Yep, he's playing it. I don't know if it's a Tarantino movie. Let me see.
Matt Smith and everything. Now they just love him so much.
It's called.
It's about time his career takes off, because 5 years after leaving Doctor Who early, Karen Gillan and Arthur Darvill went on to. Well, Arthur Darvill went on to be in Chris Chibnall's movie, TV series. Kind of having.
David Tennant went into Broadchurch.
What's the name of it, Larry?
Broadchurch with David Tennant. Arthur Darvill played the priest in that one.
David Tennant also was the Purple Man in the Jessica Jones series, which was amazing also.
Yes, first season was good.
But this drama where he's playing Charles Manson, someone named Mary Herron is directing it.
Oh, and it's not the Tarantino one.
No, and it's going to be rolling out in the United States in 2019. So it's going to be a December, January Oscar bait, probably.
Right.
That's my guess on that.
It seems to me like he really does need some good choices there, because I think if he was making money on the level that, say, Daniel Radcliffe was, where he could afford to be choosy about what roles he took, that would be great for him. But unfortunately, he wasn't making that kind of money, and now he's got to take basically, I think, what he thinks comes. I think he thinks he's got to take whatever will have him, and that's not a very good position to base your career on, because with Radcliffe, he does have the acting chops, but apparently his parents raised him not to spend any of the money he made off the Harry Potter films, so he's able to be choosy with what he does, and he's been in some really good stuff.
He was also in the shitty Pride and Prejudice and Zombies movie, which was never going to be good. But
but he was kind of the best part of that, though.
Yeah,
and he was so miscast. Like, he was so off character from the original Mr. Collins. It was kind of insane.
And he's doing a Robert Mapplethorpe biopic.
Okay. Okay.
He's playing Robert Mapplethorpe in the biopic.
Okay. So we get the behind the scenes the true story of the bullwhip picture.
I'm guessing.
Or is this the Martha Flowers era?
Okay, so there's a YouTube movie that I linked to. It's called November 1st. It's a parody of Halloween, showing what Michael Myers does the day after Halloween. So if you go and watch that, it starts off pretty funny, because he wakes up and stabs his alarm clock because he sleeps with his kitchen knife.
And he also is in some zombie movie. called Patient Zero.
Ooh, Patient Zero. That sounds interesting. I'm presuming that's about the first victim of the zombie outbreak.
Yes, it's going to be, but it's not zombies. No, it's a infection that drives everybody insane, which is totally different from zombies.
Oh, so more 28 days later then.
More 28 days later, yeah. It's a 28 days later.
So they're coherent, like, yeah, okay. So it's like when the Star Trek episode, he's in the chat when I need him. The episode in Star Trek where everybody goes nuts on the ship.
Well, they did one
that's from the Naked Time, and then
the one they did for the Next Generation
did a remake of that called The Naked Now. Yeah,
The Naked Now, and the high point of The Naked Now was the fact that Data and Tasha had sex.
Yep.
And
I screwed a toaster. I'm leaving at the end of. I'm leaving before the end of the season.
Before Star Wars did it.
You know what's funny? Maria Sirtis has talked about it. The fact they decided she left is why Maria didn't get fired, because they were talking about firing her. And she and what's her face, Denise Crosby,
Majel
were
Barrett
both on
kind
the
of
bubble.
confirmed it. Yeah. Yeah, because Majel Barrett kind of confirmed, I guess, that they were going to get rid of Maria Sirtis because I guess she was seen as a kind of a redundancy because they've already got Tasha Yar, but Denise Crosby decided to leave, and that's kind of what saved her from getting.
Because I could do more horrible canon movies.
Yeah. Or I don't know. I mean, it's not like Denise Crosby, is really doing anything. I mean, she did Pet Sematary after that. Not sure what else, but it's like, yeah. Do you think maybe you should have stuck around a bit? But no, it's like. But then they bring her back as a daughter of an alternate timeline version of her character. So I don't know. That's
what was that character's name? That whole arc was very interesting, though.
Sayla was the name, yeah.
Sayla. The whole arc with the Klingon Civil War and Sayla, that was very interesting. Because you had that one episode where Data was given like command of a training vessel, and Data had to learn more about how you can't just be logical as a commander.
Yeah, you're saying you have to take off pretty soon, Tom?
So yeah, but everybody's sticking around, so I don't want to.
Well, I probably.
I don't mind coming back, and we could, talk about.
I mean, it is almost 8 o'clock, and we've been here a couple hours.
You guys are a little ahead, and everybody's got different time zones, and I don't know what anybody else has going on as far as things going live, so I don't want to step on any toes.
Yeah, I was planning on doing an evening stream anyway this evening, probably around 7 or 7:30. So.
Well, it's 7:38 now.
I was gonna say it's going on 7 now. So if everybody wants to pub crawl over to Random's channel,
and then like about 9, I'm going to be doing a stream on. I think it's on the Lolberts, or it might be on his other channel.
And that's 9 o'clock. What time? Because
9 o'clock Eastern Standard. Give me a second here.
Yeah. So let me see if I'm going to be out on the corner panhandling. Yeah, just because I'm bored and have nothing better to do. Because I figure I'll
run into some rough times there. So if you get a chance, and you guys even have just like $1 or something to donate to, Mike's.
I had gone to the store earlier this afternoon, and I had like 2 or 3 different people try and hit me up for $1. So I'm like, I figure I might as well get in on the action.
And my new side project podcasting is going to be called Recording in Progress. Recording in Progress.
Just in case anybody wants a little context for Mike's situation, the short version is he got screwed over by a few of his roommates. So that's all we're going to say.
Yeah.
Ouch. Without getting into it. So just everybody kind of knows
because that's
we've all been there at one point in our lives.
Yes, we have. So anyway, I'm going to have to wrap up here real soon. And since like I said, we can all pub crawl over to Random's channel. I'll probably try and listen to her when I'm out and about because I got some things.
You know what? That could be really fun to do, especially if we do like one of those like charity live stream kind of deals, like a 24-hour chain.
You mean like
what Ralph
was doing going on? The heel stream that's what's going on all weekend.
We appreciate that, Mary, but you don't have to do that. You're one of our wrench wenches. You work too hard to be giving us money.
But no, I was actually thinking about that. That could be kind of interesting as a thing, getting a group of different channels together and doing a pub crawl fundraiser series of live streams with the new charity live stream feature that YouTube has.
Yes.
Wait, they've got that?
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
They do. The Ralph Retort, which is part of the YouTube drama community, did a big fundraiser for St. Jude's, and they raised like what, 27,000?
Yes, approximately, plus whatever they raised today.
Well, thanks,
because they did it again today, the Hangover edition of that.
Yeah, so that could be something really cool to do that could kind of help, promote a bunch of people's channels. That could be a really cool idea.
Yeah.
Well, Mary says it's been a really good show, and I agree, and I think that's probably as good a place as any to shut her down for now. But check out DJD Show, check out Mecha Random, follow her over to her channel to check out the next. She's going to start live here in a little bit. Check out the Wilk Report, of course, and also Nerdrodic, who was with us earlier.
Yeah. Thanks for having us again, guys.
Oh, I thought you were going to
take care. Good night. We're out.
Yeah, and I just linked my channel in the description. Yep. We have custom emojis unlocked, and I have one that I have already announced on Twitter, and I have one super secret surprise one so far.
And I seen the sexy robot.
You bastards.
She's lucky because she was a gamer chick. She was a gamer chick, so she got grandfathered in.
I did.
Yes.
I'm using it.
It's the best.
But yeah, thanks again, guys, for joining us out there, listening, and thanks for you guys joining me here on the show. And of course, I want to say once again, very, very big thank you to Gary for taking his time out to join us, because we always love having him on. And he's one of the members of the Tribunal, of course. And that's coming up Wednesday, so don't forget about that, as well as our horror show, where we'll get a lot more into this Friday the 13th business with Miss Susan Layton and Mecha Random, of course. So until then, until tomorrow night when we see you on the After Dark podcast, this is Tom Connor saying thanks for joining us here on Midnight's Edge After Dark.